Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-Optional podcast and the, I suppose it is official if we say it is, the official Co-Opty Awards for the next 2 weeks. Yay!
Welcome to the Co-Opties, everyone.
The Co-Opties. We have co-opted the notion of award shows.
With some holiday cheer.
Indeed.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
It's hard to see it, but just imagine we have wonderful antlers on. That jingle.
I mean, we don't really have to, well, the wonderful part, possibly, yes. I guess that's true. Oh, dear. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
why not?
We're very festive today.
Sell out to the holiday spirit, why not?
If I'm going to sell it to anything.
It might as well be to the spirit of the holidays.
Indeed. Making it to the show after about, it's got to be over a year or so. Sacriel, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, last time it was the British show I did with you, I think. It was we had just 4 British guests.
Yes, it was a much better show than usual. Can't imagine
Variety is the spice of life, my
Yes, there's the excuse, isn't it? Yes, I remember when we had the show where we just replaced the entire cast with Roundtable, and that was pretty good too. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but hey. Oh well, the Co-Opties. We've done a weird sort of unofficial award show, like every other fucking gaming podcast in the universe does.
Yeah, of course.
Where we talk a little bit about the year and we put them into categories, and we put them into categories so that more people will watch the show because they like that kind of thing. People love recaps, man. They love recaps. That's why so many people, they'll watch a television show, then they'll watch their YouTube favorite person recap the same fucking show that they just watched because did he have the same opinion as I did? It's very important. No is the answer, no. And then you get angry about that fact, but that's basically how it goes. We've come up with a bunch of categories, sort of.
They're really good.
Oh, they're amazing. They're fucking
industry-leading categories.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. They're so good that every other award show might as well leave the planet right now. Just go, get on the biggest ship possible and take off.
Get on that ship with Elon Musk, and off you go. Off to Mars.
They're rocket men.
Off to Mars.
Off to Mars.
Of all of the meaningless award show, this is the meaninglessest. So
it's super meaningless.
It's really meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess we'll better get right into it because we don't have time to do anything else. We could have spent half an hour talking about Twitch IRL, but this is a video game show. Sometimes it is anyway. So we're going to go on to the first category. And the first category is No Man's Sky. We decided to give it a full category.
I have a nomination.
Oh, yeah? What's the nomination?
I would like to nominate No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. Okay.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Good choice. But I feel like
let me have it. What?
No one is considering No Man's Sky.
It's a fair point.
I actually forgot about that one.
That is a good perspective. Yeah.
A little bit under the radar.
Yeah.
Might have missed out on that one.
It's a good one though.
Yeah. Here's a thought though, and this might be coming out of left field somewhat, and maybe it's an overly popular choice. So some people are going to accuse me of just appealing to the masses.
We can't have only indie games on here.
I mean,
we gotta have some big AAA.
That is true,
stuff,
you know. And I just think as a franchise,
sure,
you know, it's grown and No Man's Sky mostly. So sure. I mean, I'd like to nominate No Man's Sky if possible for this category.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of No Man's Sky.
Yeah, what they did, they took No Man's Sky, and you think that they would learn from No Man's Sky, but instead they made it even more No Man's Sky.
Which they should not have done. I mean, that should be pretty obvious when you look at No Man's Sky, that No Man's Sky was not the best template for No Man's Sky.
No.
Not even close to that, you know?
Like, they worked off of the framework of No Man's Sky, and I get that, you know, they're all going to wind up being in the same category, but really, like No Man's Sky did something that No Man's Sky never even attempted.
Well, hold on. But No Man's Sky did things that I have never seen in a video game since No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that, because No Man's Sky did it, proving that it was a bad idea, which is why you didn't see it in No Man's Sky going forward.
But it depended on what kind of a gamer you are, right? Like some people really connected with No Man's Sky because of the mechanics, but then people who weren't really looking for that wound up finding the perfect game in No Man's Sky instead.
Yeah, but was it the perfect No Man's Sky, or was it the worst possible No Man's Sky? Is that something you can even figure out? I mean, I know we're in the position of hindsight being 2020. We can be we can be very, not so much revisionist history on this. I don't feel we're being revisionist. I feel we're being very fair to No Man's Sky in the No Man's Sky category.
Sure.
But I really do feel that if there was a possibility to make No Man's Sky, then the way that they should have done it is not to ape No Man's Sky in the process. I mean, that is not original. It's not very smart. They should have learned from the mistakes of No Man's Sky when making No Man's Sky.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I'm telling you, No Man's Sky is hands down the best No Man's Sky this year, and y'all just need to accept it.
I guess we're just never really going to agree.
No,
on the
I
best
have to
of-
agree to disagree at
This
this
is
point.
going to be one of those categories where we can't really like come to a conclusion.
Sacriel, did you get a lot of big chance to spend No Man's Sky with No Man's Sky?
Well, I never played No Man's Sky or No Man's Sky.
Ah,
And I actually recently got access
Wait, but
to.
did you play No Man's Sky?
Yeah, so I got No Man's Sky, and it had this really unique multiplayer perspective that I didn't really think No Man's Sky brought to the table. So
Yeah.
that is true. I didn't see much multiplayer in No Man's Sky.
yeah, so I preferred that one, to be honest.
That's
yeah, you
fair.
are more of a multiplayer person.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I understand.
And it
seeing, like,
really offered a
taking
deep
No Man's Sky
multiplayer
and then
experience.
adding multiplayer for No Man's Sky is like,
It just changed it. It just changed it so much.
I mean,
Added a
I feel
depth
like
to
it fundamentally changed the metagame of what we expect from multiplayer games. Bearing in mind, generally speaking, in a multiplayer game, we do expect some form of multiplayer, but No Man's Sky was able to buck the trend there by including no multiplayer whatsoever in a game that specifically stated it would have multiplayer.
right.
So that was unexpected for me. That was the kind of
a unique
surprise I'm
instance.
really looking for in modern gaming.
Well, name another multiplayer game that doesn't have multiplayer. They're just Mavericks.
I mean, I can't come out with all that many, honestly. Not off the top of my head, anyway. I'd have to do a few little bits of research to figure it out. But I feel like No Man's Sky definitely was the pioneer in that particular regard.
I don't know. For me, it just seemed like they were, throwing stuff in there just to be able to say that it was in there. Didn't really, it didn't
You have a point.
create
You
a
have a point.
better
She
gaming experience
You have a point.
for me.
I mean,
Yeah, all right.
I wasn't going in there with the desire to play a video game, which is
Right.
why I felt No Man's Sky was a really good choice for that, because it doesn't really have any of the essence of a video game in there. There's none of the required elements and ingredients to create an entertaining or compelling experience really anywhere in the
Oh,
product
guys.
whatsoever.
We didn't even think about this. Chat's so on the money. What about No Man's Sky?
Fair point. Didn't think of that
We
one.
didn't even
This is
bring it up.
why
Did
we
that
have an
come out
audience.
this year?
A late
I thought
entry.
that came out
Yes.
last year.
No Man's Sky came out this year.
What?
Really?
Oh,
Right?
Damn, we should
That's
have
why
nominated
I always
that
have
in
to
the
go through
game
the
we forgot that
lists
happened
for the year because I
category.
forget. It feels like that was so long ago.
Fuck.
I feel like we
Jesus.
didn't prep hard enough for this one because
Yeah.
that is super obvious.
You're
Chat
right. We're
might
gonna have
be
to
right.
redo the whole
Chat might
segment
be
again.
right.
We're gonna have to start from the beginning.
Right.
So
This
we'll-
debate is
round.
moot without including No Man's Sky.
It's true. We didn't properly fact check, so we'll just do it again. Round 2 do over. That's fair, right? Everyone accept that.
Yeah.
We'll stop now. Seriously, No Man's Sky was fucking shit. Oh god. Oh god. Let's move on.
Good goof, everybody. Way to commit.
That was
Whoa.
a good one. We put a good 10 minutes into that one. That was well thought out. I liked it.
Jokes. We have them.
Yeah.
Edgy.
Oh my gosh.
With that joke, we can go anywhere and yet nowhere.
The
How
only way is down.
appropriate. All right, let's move on. Jesse, here's one of your characters of the year categories. You only have one of those. You actually have two of those. No, you got a supporting character as well. So I guess this is your main character of the year of sorts.
Yeah, let's do lead character, maybe.
Yeah, lead character of the year.
Like that. Lead character of the year. These would be characters in a game that really inspired you to continue playing. I'm going to straight up avoid things like Nathan Drake and things like that because people are all over their biscuits already. So I propose to you that my character of the year is 100% Alex from Oxenfree.
Okay.
I think that is an amazing game, but the character of Alex is one where it you can't really talk about it without spoiling it, but I'll simply say that she carries that really, really well. And I was in love with little Alex and her misadventures on Hell Island.
Hell Island?
Yeah.
Sam and I have talked about playing that game for so long, and I still haven't touched it. And I've only heard good things.
Yeah, if you like Life is Strange, because I know you do, take that, but remove the more schlocky, like...
Is it like...
elements, and then more of... you are playing as a group of characters that are trapped in something that is way creepier than you expect it to be. It's definitely a scary game.
Is it like Life is Strange meets Until Dawn?
No, you're not like, well, never mind. A little bit, yes.
Okay. I'll take that.
But it's more about the fact that a lot of what's happening to her as a character is not only out of her control, but also involves some next level things that are, there's a lot of things happen to this character that give you a backstory to her that you don't get through normal gameplay. It's super hard to describe.
Gotcha.
I wish I could, but
that does make the category a little difficult to argue. But we'll go with it. Yes. We're just gonna trust your judgment on that one.
Yes, I will say that I believe Alex from No Man's Sky is my favorite character of the year. My favorite main character.
Can I be a fucky pretentious fuck?
Oh my god! Please do.
I'm just
refreshing.
It's my favorite version of TotalBiscuit.
We Time Magazine now, because I'm gonna nominate every custom character you ever created in XCOM 2.
Get out of life.
And here's why. I got a fucking reason. I got a reason. Hey, I got a degree as well, Jesse, with your fancy masters. I got one of those.
Did I just say No Man's Sky? I meant Oxenfree. I'm sorry, chat. Alex from No Man's Sky.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right.
My head.
Oh, God, we're in the loop. Fuck.
All right, so here's my argument in favor of that, kind of in the same way that Time Magazine nominated everybody as Person of the Year. The thing about XCOM 2 is that when you give a name to a character and you do something with them, you customize them, you send them on a mission, they get their own little story. And it's either a story of very quick, sudden, horrific death, most likely that, or sometimes they survive and they will have a little bit of a relationship with someone else in their squad because you send them on missions together and one gets injured, you imagine the other one goes and sees them in the hospital or something. Or, for instance, they get called Dodger, survive till the last mission with Strippin as your two elite soldiers, and then get infected by a chrysalid, turned into a zombie during the last mission, and then shot in the head by Strippin with a sniper rifle due to the necessity of keeping the rest of the squad alive. You see, that to me is a game where you can create those cool little... they can create those cool little stories, and it comes out of your gameplay. And each one is different, and giving a name to your character, giving an identity to your character, and experiencing what they experience along with you kind of gives you these cool little war stories to share. And I think that's kind of awesome that you get to create that on your own and you're not tied into what's written in the story. You get to write your own little one, which usually ends in horrific death. horrific, horrible death.
I do think that's a fucky McFuck cop out, but
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a cop out, but it's a viable cop out that we'll accept.
I do have another nominee.
Yeah,
I do have another nominee that's less
It's
of a
really hard
cop-out.
to say no, that doesn't count to just about anything.
I was going to say, it is my show. I do get to
It is
determine
also
that.
your show.
If you want a less fucky choice.
Whatever you say, good idea, boss.
Yeah.
What a great, you know what? You're right.
You win.
I think so too.
Yep.
Indeed. If you want a less fucky choice, I'm going to say the Doom Slayer from Doom. And you're going to say, what the fuck? He doesn't speak a word. That's the exact fucking point. He is expressive as hell through his actions. Like, every cutscene, he's like, fuck this shit. It's like, oh, exposition? Fuck this shit. Break it. Oh, there's a screen with information on it? Throw it away. Oh, you're telling me not to break the super valuable energy MacGuffin? I'm going to punch the super valuable energy MacGuffin. He is a guy with a singular purpose that I can respect. Like, that guy's got drive. That guy knows what he wants from his career. I'm all in on Doom Guy. Absolutely. Sacriel, what you got?
I think I'm going to go with Danny from Battlefield 1 single player.
Okay. Which mission is Danny in? Is he the one in the flying? Wait, I can't remember. I've done.
He's the British one. So he's the guy where, like, at the start, it's a flashback of like a chauffeur in like a manor house in England, and he's got all his like fancy chauffeur gloves on, and then he looks down at his hands, and then they become blood, and he looks up, and he's like on the battlefront.
Okay.
And he has this like amazing story with the British Army where they're in a tank and they kind of refer to the tank by name and they kind of bond with the tank and it's almost becomes part of their team, and the whole story revolves around these few people in this little tank trying to get out of everything alive, and there's some interesting twists.
Is the tank, however, a better character than the main guy?
Arguably, because it kills lots of people, and
it does.
For me, I like that. As much as Danny's like a lovely, well-meaning British chauffeur dude, he doesn't kill too many people on his own. He's using a tank mainly. Maybe the tank from Battlefield 1 is my nominee.
Who was it? Black Bess?
The tank.
I think.
Just the tank.
The tank. But yeah, no, it's such an interesting story, and there's some interesting twists and sacrifices and stuff, and I really connected with it. So I think Danny, for me, from Battlefield 1 is a wicked lead character.
Cool. Dodger, what you got?
I was trying to think of like a character that really, really stuck with me. And although it might partially be because I've been playing it recently, I'm going to say Toriko from The Last Guardian, because the way that Toriko is animated as like a character is straight up uncanny valley weirdness. Like, it feels like a real animal that's hanging out with you. You feel like a really strong connection to it the longer that you play the game, and it winds up being so important to you and really affects the story. So I'm gonna say Toriko. I think Toriko is like a fascinating character for a game.
That's a good mix. We have a fucking owl cat thing.
Yeah.
All of the characters from XCOM 2 that you create and die. A tank. And
Good characters, everybody. Good characters. I like this.
That's good. I'm good with that. That's a nice little selection. All right, cool. Let's move on then to best DLC / expansion pack. Jesse, I'm going to make a pretty solid assumption about yours, and it begins with blood and ends in wine.
I think that is a phenomenal choice. Yes, but while Witcher 3 Blood and Wine should be the winner, I will say that I kind of think that the Dark Souls DLC was pretty cool, even though I didn't play it. I watched people who did, and that looked kind of interesting. And the new expansion for WoW also came out too.
I was going to say, didn't the WoW expansion come out too?
There's a lot of things you could consider for this.
Also, the ice cream DLC for Guild of Dungeoneering.
That did, in fact, come out.
Adorable.
I don't know if I'm trying to think of any major. If I would throw a Hearthstone expansion in this, but I don't know that I personally would.
Yeah, good point.
I probably wouldn't. I mean, I would say that the the Karazhan, like One Night in Karazhan adventure was fun, but it petered out towards the end in a big way. Like, it was not as consistent as the others. And yeah, the new expansion just came out, but I'd be lying if I said it got me interested in the game again. It hasn't at all. Like, it hasn't driven me right back into playing. So, I don't know.
A lot of people...
Have you looked into it a lot, or are you not too interested in it?
I mean, I bought all the cards for it and started thinking, okay, what can I do to make some decks with this? And then just kind of lost interest again. I used to be a big Hearthstone player, but honestly, the game lost me around the last expansion for some reason. I guess it just became more of the same, and I was sick of playing against the same decks on ladder all the time, and this hasn't helped. You're still playing against the same decks, they've just got some new cards in them.
Right.
There's a lot of criticism of the previous expansion for the RNG. There's a lot of cards where you put a card down, it's like summon a random 2-cost card, and if you needed a taunt and you get it, you might win that fight. And if you just needed a taunt and you don't get it, you lost through RNG.
Basically, any card that has the word portal in it is something that you want to avoid. It's rough.
Exactly. A lot of people criticize that.
Yeah, I agree with it as well. And I'm the sort of person that actually doesn't mind the RNG bullshit because I'm the sort of person that thinks that the competitive aspect of Hearthstone should be less of a big deal, and it should be more about fun, random shit. The problem is that ladder doesn't cater to that. Ladder's still all about playing the optimal deck in the optimal way. The brawls cater to it, sure, but they're only once a week. You don't even have them for a full week, and even then, they often get solved very quickly, and people play the optimal deck even in the brawls. So I'm not massively keen on that. Like, to me, Plants vs. Zombies Heroes has fully replaced Hearthstone as just a game that I dig more because of there's more player interaction and a bit more strategy and unit placement, things like that. I don't know if I'd count Dota 7.0 as an expansion. I know a lot of people are suggesting it. And so far, my experiences with it have not been positive. I'm sure that it is a good patch, but the 2 games that I've played up to this point have been miserable. So I don't know yet.
Was that just public queue or?
Yeah, I mean, I always played solo queue anyway, and people were like, "What the fuck are you doing with your life?" I was like, I was at a decent MMR to the point where it wasn't awful. Like, I was at 3.2k, also known as the Pyrian Flax MMR, and that was a decent bracket. Like, you'd get people that kind of knew what they were doing. They weren't brilliant, and also they weren't like super try hard and really aggressive about it.
Yeah, toxic.
Yeah, and there are issues with that, but I've been unlucky with the game so far. Because I think people are still feeling it out, they don't close the game out when they should. So my first game lasted 85 minutes, and I wanted to die.
Too long. Yeah, way too long.
And then for a game.
The second game was so fucking imbalanced in terms of how well the other team was doing. We had an enemy Storm Spirit who was 45 for 3, which is an unheard of kill amount. And he had 2 Divine Rapiers, which are the 2 most powerful items in the game that you drop when you die. So they're high-risk items, and they cost a fortune. Having 2 of them is insane. We actually killed him in base, but he resurrected and picked them up again and killed us with them, and it was the worst. And no. So maybe later. Yeah, so that. Trying to think what else came out this year.
Path of Exile had
Ascendancy?
the name of it. Ascendancy? Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I heard some good things about it.
That's apparently fantastic. I haven't played it.
I would also like to throw in 2 other ones. One, the Wood Elves for Total War.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Oh.
And 2, and this might be the one TB jumps in on, Co-op for StarCraft.
That was last year. But
was it last year?
Yeah, but I guess you can count it because they have been continually adding new characters to it since, I mean, Stukov just came out. So, yeah, I'm going to let you have it on the basis of that. The co-op for StarCraft has expanded hugely.
The best one, but those are excellent additions as well.
Yeah. Legacy of the Void was 2015. But yeah, like considering what they've done with the co-op and the sheer amount of updates they've done to it, it might as well be a new game at this point. So it's a fair argument. I'm trying to think, like, was there anything... The DLC for XCOM 2 was good, but I don't think, like, on its own it was mind-blowing. Like, when you put all 3 together and throw in some mods, it's incredible. But each piece on their own, like Alien Hunters and What's-His-Face's Last Gift, they're not huge steps forward for the game. I like to throw in there the Division Survival.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
DLC.
no, that's a really good one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's just in case, it is good. It's a really, really good DLC, but also it steps into a market that's got a bunch of unfinished games in it right now, that being the kind of battle royale market.
Mm-hmm.
And it says we've got an engine that actually works and mechanics that actually work, and this isn't buggy as fuck. Maybe you should play this. And it does a pretty damn good job of it, honestly. It's pretty damn compelling gameplay on its own.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I read somewhere that like 2 months after launch, Division was down to like 4% of its player base compared to the amount of people that bought it.
Yeah.
Because the kind of PvP endgame got so dry so quick.
It did.
Yeah.
They apparently have done a lot to fix that.
Yeah, I
And
heard that,
survival did result in a lot of people coming back. How long they will stick around is a different matter. But I will say that the survival expansion is massive in terms of its scope, and also just the mode is good on its own to the point where I can ignore the rest of the game. It's that good. You can just queue into that.
Okay. I've not played it, so it's its own standalone thing. So let's say I just bought Division and the expansion now. Could I jump straight into that expansion, and I wouldn't be like 6 months behind everyone else in gear?
Yep, because everyone starts without a level
from zero.
Yeah. So basically, you've got 15. It takes about 15 minutes to get to your home base, and then there's a little underground area that you go to queue for survival, and you never have to leave that area again.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
You can just play that. I played it yesterday. Queue times weren't too long. The question is whether or not people are going to stick around with it. That's always going to be a question with games like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I found the meta got real stale with Division PvP real quick.
Yeah.
After like a few hours, you're just like, okay, I'm bored.
Yeah, to me, survival's like kind of what the PvP should have been in the first place. So I like that. Else, any DLC expansions to toss in there for good measure? Nothing that I can think of.
Did Stardew get a DLC this year?
They got a patch.
They got a
some
patch.
big content injection or something, yeah.
Yeah.
That was free. Yeah, I think
that's what makes this category kind of hard now, because most people just like slowly patch their games instead of doing like a big DLC or a big expansion.
Wasn't the Ark expansion this year? The one that added dragons and a whole new planet and all that
fire
stuff?
Thingy? Yes, it was. I have to admit, I don't really play Ark, so I don't know much about it. We barely brought
Legion. That seemed like a pretty big overhaul, but a lot of people complained about it because it was kind of like, it felt like they'd done a lot of patches of similar kind of size, I guess. And then all of a sudden it's like, the next one's going to cost you $20 or whatever it was. And
yeah, there were arguments that like the content, some of the content that was in there was supposed to be like in a free update, and they ended up charging for it. I heard there was a lawsuit that kind of meant that they took a really big financial hit and kind of had to.
Right, yeah.
But it's hard to say whether or not that's true. We barely touched Legion, and I think that's like a big mention. I mean, Jesse, you played a ton of it. Sacriel, you played quite a bit of it, or?
No, so Legion and Mists of Pandaria are the only expansions I've never played. But really? Other than that, I played like 8 years of WoW. Yeah.
Here's why I wouldn't give the winner to Legion. For as much as Legion was hype when it came out, and as much as everyone and their brother was in this thing and talking how great it was, however many months out we are now from launch, I'm the exact same place where I was when Pandaria came out, and when every expansion. I haven't played WoW in maybe 4 or 5 weeks. It's one of those things where it's cool, and then you get to a certain point, and it happens every single time where you're either in it because this is my shit and this is the only game I play and I love this game and I play 12 hours a day, or you're, I had a fun experience, now it's time to move on. And I think I've hit that moment where I have it, I'm still paying for it, and Lord knows every once in a while I'll be like, maybe I should log in, but I just don't.
So when you say you get to that
once a week raid with your buds, and then
you do your weeklies, right? You kind of log in, do your weekly raid. It's easy. You get a few tokens and log out again.
Yeah, and that's just sort of either habit or I don't want to fall too behind when the next expansion comes out kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, because it feels so similar to Warlords, when Warlords came out, where I had that oh my God, they finally nailed this shit. And then I immediately dropped off the map. I definitely think this is, I don't know if it deserves to. It's cool. It deserves to be mentioned and nominated. I don't think it deserves to win.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the same in Warlords. You make your garrison and you upgrade your buildings. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and you get your followers and they get epic grade. That's amazing. And once you've kind of got everything, you just log in and go, followers do my quests. You give me that stuff from the box. Log out again. Like
yeah,
you
now
get into such a routine.
mobile app and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't even need to load the game, right? Yeah.
It just has to do with like what kind of gamer you are, and I feel like Warcraft taps into a very specific niche of gamer who, if MMOs are still your jam, there is no better MMORPG.
Yeah.
There's nothing even close. And so this expansion offers you so much that you want and actually does really, really well. It's just one of those things where eventually some people, definitely myself included now, are just like, I have to do other things. Like I literally can't be doing this every day.
Yeah.
I think the problem they might suffer from is their content is such high quality, they can't just put so much out that it keeps everyone busy. They have to adhere to the lore. They have to adhere to their quality standards for raids and drops and balance.
I don't know about lore, but all right. I'd fight you on lore, but okay. No, but I think you're right. And especially with this one, the quality's there. Everything they've done so far has been phenomenal. The way they set up this expansion is great. I just think that it's one of those things that just either you are down with MMORPGs or you are in it for like a little bit and then you're out. There is no
middle ground.
I play it 5 days a week, but only casually. That does not exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could throw in one that's like less of a, hey, this was good, and why the fuck did you not expand it? I want to know where the fuck the Doom single player DLC is, because they put out a season pass and made almost all of the content multiplayer. They released a free arcade mode, which is great, and like totally worthy of a second playthrough with that, by the way. Really, really good mode. But the DLC, the actual season pass, was all multiplayer shit that nobody cared about. It's like, dude, you had an incredible campaign. Not to mention one that ended on a note where you could have very easily continued it, and you fucking didn't. There's no announcement of an expansion. There's no DLC there, although I will say they did just implement, I believe, official snap map support for making co-op single-player, like, PvE maps, which is cool. Like, I imagine there's already co-op maps with the limited support. Now there's much better support in snap map for it, so I have a feeling that we're going to see some really cool shit come in via snap map. But holy fuck, like, that campaign was so good, I was left wanting more. No doubt about it. I was watching JP stream when he finished it. It's like, these are the coolest credits ever. Fuck, I need more of this right now. Because it's that good. And yeah, and they're just making the DLC on multiplayer was foolish, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not like the multiplayer was awful.
About the single player. Like,
because there isn't one. Like, it's that good. Like, the worst you can say about the single player is that towards the end it maybe gets a little samey at times. But if you're in the groove, if you like the way that the single player is, you don't care that it happens to have a slight bit of padding. It's just like, I want more of this shit. Fuck, I want to punch more demons. I want to get bigger guns. I want to just keep fighting.
Yeah. It's good padding though, right?
It is good
it's
padding.
That kind of gameplay where even if it gets a bit repetitive and using the same weapons and the same configs, it's just super satisfying to do.
Yes.
Whereas padding in other games, like Tom Clancy games and stuff, when it's like, okay, tranquilize, dart the guy, drag him over here, hack the thing, tranquilize the guy, it kind of gets, the padding is really boring. But the
Doom
padding in
respects
Doom...
your time.
Yeah, where padding in Doom doesn't have any kind of qualms about what it is. No. It's like, you want another room of demons to fight? Cool, come this way. Like,
I love how unapologetic Doom is. Like, and I've got a lot to say about that at the end of the year, but how Doom is like, Doom does not fucking apologize for what it is. Doom is Doom, and it is proud to be Doom. And it almost wasn't. That's the weird thing. If you watch the documentaries that Danny O'Dwyer just put out that are fucking amazing from NoClip, that game almost didn't happen. Like, the original form of Doom was nothing like that. And I'm so glad that it ended up the way that it was, because it's so much better for it.
Right.
Fucking awesome. I mean, I could also drop in there, it's effectively DLC, because it's part of the season pass, but it's also free. What they've been doing with Rainbow Six Siege has been really good this year.
Yeah, they've really...
I know a lot of people that are still super on the Siege train.
Yeah.
Play it all the time.
I'd be more into it if I wasn't so fucking terrible at it. But Oh
That's
no,
me with almost every
I
game.
was gonna say that sounds familiar.
I am
I'd be
so
good at that
bad
game.
at
I
it.
wasn't fucking terrible at it.
It's almost the same feeling I get from Counter-Strike, that, you know, I get capped 5 seconds into the map and then I just have to wait for the end of the round. Like, it feels like that, but maybe even worse. But at least with Rainbow Six Siege, not only do you get to control the cameras when you're dead, which is great, that means you actually get to do something, but also watching through the eyes of your teammates is a really tense experience. I love Rainbow Six Siege, and what they've done with it, expansion-wise, they've added a bunch of new characters. Some were OP, they fixed them. Credit to them for that. They have some really cool new maps. The new fucking Skyscraper map is amazing. They've really they've overdone the cosmetic system in a big way. They've redone the UI in a big way. They've fixed a lot of the cheating issues. They fixed a lot of the netcode issues. They added caliber-based destruction to the game. They've really supported the competitive scene. The player base is now larger than it was on launch, which is almost unheard of for a game like that. Most of the time, a game like that will go into a death spiral. This actually didn't, which I think is testament to how much support it had. So, you know, Siege, technically the DLC is free, but the Season Pass gives you earlier access to the operators, so I guess you can throw that in there.
I mean, from a Twitch perspective, there's very few games, especially first-person games, that come out and they have the initial spike of viewers because it's new, and then they drop back down to like 20th in the game list and work their way back up to the top 10. Very few FPS games do that. Like Titanfall, just blip over.
Yeah, Titanfall's done. Like, nobody's streaming that. Nobody cares. COD, and nobody cares. Battlefield, I mean, to some degree, but
it's holding its own. It's not doing bad.
Yeah, it's so. I think because Battlefield has such a large player base, that kind of keeps it up there. But I don't think it's a good viewing experience.
And they just put out their first kind of a new map and
Giant
patch
Shadow
balance and stuff. So it's actually really good.
Yeah, they did put in this mode, which is getting me a bit more interested. I think they still need to fuck a bit with the custom servers, but they put a standard issue rifle mode in. So if you set up a custom server, you can set it up so that each class gets their nation's standard issue rifle with iron sights as well as all that other shit. Which is kind of stepping in the direction that I want it to go. Like, I imagine this game mode whereby it's like a condensed version of World War One, where you start off, like, and it's kind of like the operations mode, where you drag through a few maps where it takes about an hour. You start off in, like, 1914, where nobody has a fucking clue how to fight war. Like, the French are still in big, bold colors and still marching in columns across battlefields with shitty-ass fucking weapons, you know, and then you start to progress. You get more machine guns in there. You start to dig trenches. You see the advent of the plane. You see the advent of the tank. And it goes through that kind of mode. There was a mod for Half-Life called Science and Industry, which was one of my favorite mods ever. And you had two rival research corporations trying to sabotage each other. You both had a base. You both had a science team. You could go and kidnap the scientists from the other team and go and put them to work for you. And then your team kind of voted on a research upgrade. And you progressed and you got new shit like fucking mechanical bees and poison gas and new weapons and defenses and stuff. I'd just kind of like to see a Battlefield mode like that was focused on literally just call it arms race. Have you start off with
really
shitty-ass weapons and go all the way through to 1918 with all the crazy stuff and all that kind of thing. I would dig that. It would be so awesome. Like, in the middle of that mode, it's like the first tank rolls onto the battlefield and you have no fucking clue how to deal with it. It's like, we don't have any tank weapons because tanks didn't exist. What the fuck do we do? That kind of thing. I'd love it. That'll be fucking awesome. Anyway, that's kind of beside the point. But you're right. They did add, that's free DLC for Battlefield 1. They haven't added Season Pass stuff in yet. I think the real first piece of DLC is focused on the French because they really did not do much of that at all. I don't know what's going to be going on with it, but it'll be interesting to see. Cool. Yeah, so quite a lot of DLCs and expansions this year, I guess. Yeah. More to come in 2017. Can't wait for the Darkest Dungeon DLC that's coming.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Van Helsing as a new merc you can buy, and
all sorts of creepy, bloody kind of masquerade things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
All in on
and
that.
the new Final Fantasy 14 expansion. I'm excited for that.
At least someone is.
Just me.
Apparently.
So.
I haven't played Final Fantasy since 7 when I was like 12.
Yo,
15 was really fun.
15 is the shitness. It is so much fun.
Yep. We'll no doubt get onto that one later. We have plenty of categories that'll fit on. So let's move on, because we've dwelled a lot on that one. To one that we won't spend a lot of time on, Heredy-deredy-der, the best of toilet gaming, as suggested by Jesse.
We're hitting all my categories.
Good
guys.
one.
We are.
Good
We're
one.
doing all your categories, man.
I know that through the years you've seen a lot of categories that have been like best mobile game. But let's get real. Best mobile games are the ones you can play on the toilet, hands down. This
And
is
there's
that
the
bullshit where it's
specific
like,
requirements for
Pokemon
that.
Go, right? Like, no. We all get that was
You
cool.
play that on the
Can't
toilet.
play that in the
Yeah,
toilet.
you can't play it on the toilet.
Maybe
These are
you got a
games-
moving toilet. Maybe,
these
you
are
know, it
mobile
rolls around.
games. Maybe even, I don't know that you can play a 3DS game on the toilet. That requires
Sure you
skill.
can.
But
I think you can.
I would say, here's some games I'm going to throw out there for you guys, because there's
All right.
a lot.
Okay.
One,
Connie's played a lot of them. All right.
100%. Dodger mentioned this earlier. Guild of Dungeoneering. I think that is a phenomenal toilet game.
Yep.
It is.
Session
would-
length is good for that. Yep.
Yep. I would say that Severed is also a cool toilet game.
I don't know about that.
Severed?
Severed was a game that was on Vita, but then
Yes.
it got ported to iOS, and it is like a first person like slash.
It is very, very good,
Oh.
but that's the reason why I don't think it's a good toilet game. Like, the amount of
It's too good to
I
be
mean,
a toilet
well,
game.
I guess
things
the
that-
amount of,
things
like,
that are real
finger
time
movement you have to do.
is tricky. You know, if he's using a larger device, that can be a little bit tricky as well. You want?
I
I think.
wasn't thinking with iPad. I was thinking more with
Oh,
like
phone.
phone.
Okay.
No, you're
I mean,
right. You're right.
I'll give you
A
that.
bigger device that would be too hard. That's
That'd be
why.
tricky.
That's why it wouldn't win. That's why it's nominated but wouldn't win.
All right.
I would say the Mr. Robot game is a phenomenal toilet game because you can play it while you're on the toilet and put it down and not touch it again till you get back on the toilet, because by that time you'll have new messages.
That's fair.
Banner Saga 2, I think, is a good toilet game because that's
What the fuck would you play that on, though? That's not on iOS, is it?
I think it is now. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe you, but I'll check.
I think it's on iOS.
Check it. Google knows. Google knows all. Alexa.
You don't have
I
Alexa.
wish I had an Alexa in here.
Actually, you're right. It is on the App Store. You're totally
Yeah.
right. I
I
did
think
not
that's
know
a
that.
phenomenal. I think that's a phenomenal game to play on the toilet. Here's the problem: I haven't played it on the toilet, but I know, having played it normally, that had I not played it already, man, would I be playing that thing while taking a poop? That is up my alley. There's a bunch. I think
Clash Royale's going to be in there. No
Clash
doubt about
Royale
it.
is definitely
Perfect
one.
session length. Yeah.
The whatever the hell that damn Star Wars game is. That
Star
would
Wars
be on
Galaxy
there
of
too.
Heroes.
I think that'd be on there. God, so many things came out.
Plants
this
vs.
year.
Zombies Heroes probably on that list. Games can run a little long for that.
Yep. Rain, I feel like, is a good toilet game as well.
Rain is an excellent
Rain is a
one.
great
Yeah.
toilet game.
Yeah.
You just like scroll, which is phenomenal.
I would throw the trail on there because you can just go from one campfire to the next and be like, cool, and then wipe and move on with your life.
You know, session length and the ability to put it down is important.
Mhm.
If you can't do that, you know, you run into issues. You know, Plants vs. Zombies
My favorite
Heroes,
toilet
you know,
game is the
blah, blah.
HTC Vive. You know, it's perfect setup. It's great.
I think you've got to play certain decks in PvZ Heroes for it to be a good toilet game. Like, if you play, like, a stall deck, unless you've had, you know, some issues lately, that's not ideal. You know,
I don't know. Look, I don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes it's your sanctuary. You gotta just close that door and let the world fade away. It's just you, the poo, and Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, I've had this discussion when the concept of toilet games
I
come
like
up.
that you've had this discussion. This is
Of
like,
course.
It's a discussion worth having.
It is a
important to the
discussion worth
industry.
having because for some people it's like, well, I don't want to waste time in there, but I want to have stuff to do. So I want like a game that's going to take like a minute or two and then I can move on with my life.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely the sort of person where if it's a chill day and I got nothing else to do and I go to the bathroom, like I might just hang out in there for a while playing a game. If
That's
I'm
real.
just,
That's
like,
truth.
mood hits me.
That's truth.
Yeah.
That's fact. Some days just like, F it. I'm in here.
Mhm.
I'm in here for a good 15. Close that door. Let's do this.
That's like old school style, right? Like you
Old
always hear, or at least I did.
It is.
My mom used to talk about how my nana, my grandma, used to go into the bathroom with her cigarettes and a newspaper and just hang out in there.
No one does that anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Truth.
Now we do.
I
Too
vividly
too
remember my
busy a
dad being
world.
like, paper, bathroom, C in 25. Like, there's
Mm.
no way he's in there poop for 20. He's just embracing the moment.
Yeah.
No one does that anymore. It just not happen. So
You ever do that thing when you're a kid and you go in the bathroom and you forgot to bring like a comic or a game or anything, and you just kind of pick up shampoo and read
Something.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes.
You
Every
learn a
time.
lot.
Too real. That's
about-
way too real. Zach.
You learn a lot about soap ingredients and guidelines during those. It's like I need
I
anything.
learned a lot of French that way because you get to read the English
Absolutely
version and
anything.
then the French version, and you're like, oh, that's
It's like,
how
oh
you
God,
say
I'm
it.
so
Yeah.
bored. Or there'll be like one thing that you've left in there, but you've read it 500 times already, and you know you've read it 500 times already, but it's like, it's the only thing. It's either this or the wall, and an acute awareness of what I'm doing. Like, you need a distraction for what it is you're doing, and
Yeah.
so, you know, absolutely.
Act.
We
It's
used
an
to have
important
that.
category. It's our important. It's the most important category in this entire show.
I'm just glad that we have
It's a very
this.
accessible category.
Technology has allowed this to happen.
Mhm.
Because back in university when I was sharing a house, with 3 other guys at uni, we didn't have toilet gaming. What we had magazines, and none of us would buy a new magazine, and it was the same fucking magazine, and I read everything in it, cover to cover, and it was starting to get a bit boring. It's like, why won't you cheap fuckers buy a new magazine? Like, nope, we're not going to do that. You do it.
Now everything's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
It is. In more ways
I
than
remember
one.
having to go to the back of a magazine and look through the cheat section and hope the game you're playing at home is in the cheat section.
Yeah.
And nowadays you can just be like,
Christ.
oh, cheat for my game. But back then it used to be like, oh my God, my game. Up C, down C, left C, right C.
We just straight up kids these days with video games. Kids
Oh
these
my
days got
God.
it so
Yeah.
easy. They can just look up codes.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we had to go uphill both ways to find codes. In 5 feet of snow.
Oh my God. I found an old notebook that I had when Ocarina of Time came out. And my cousins and I were all sitting around trying to break the game. And I had like entire pages where I was like, okay, if you do this and then this and then this, all of the colors invert. Like, it was so bizarre. And I was like, man, I need to go back and try to do all that shit again and see what
That's awesome.
happens.
All right. We'll do one last category before the break. Is it no Jesse's? Just getting his out of the way. Best
going down the list.
supporting character in a video game. So what do you
No,
mean? How's that like different to the other one?
I think this is way more important than main character because most main characters in games don't say a damn thing, or they do, but they have to interact with these characters. These are the characters that I think are the ones that make a game shine, right?
Yeah. They
So,
add life and color to a game. Yeah.
yes, I would say they're way more important than main characters, which is why I hands down 100% give it to Delilah in Firewatch. I think
That's a
she's
good one.
character- She is a character.
Isn't she a main? I guess you can get away. It's your category. You can.
Well, you
No,
never
whatever the
see
fuck you want.
never see her, and
That is
she's
true.
Not, she's a character that exists in the periphery, so she can't be a main character, but she's good enough as a side character that she feels like a main character, and
Okay.
she's the driving force of this game. And I would simply say that she's like an incredible addition to this story, and 100% is my like supporting character of the year, hands down.
Sure. I'll throw in Wrench from Watch Dogs 2, becoming sort of more. He's my cool and awkward as fuck and a little overly enthusiastic, but he also makes a lot of weapons, so I sort of have to deal with them. Nerdy friend. Like, there's plenty of little moments in that game where he's just nerding out over something and you can just tell he's really enthusiastic about it. And for a character that people thought was going to be super cringe and awful from the trailers, he's only a bit cringe. He's a bit cringe in the way that your overly enthusiastic, nerdy, a little bit introverted, but still fun friend is.
Right.
And I can dig that, because as I said before, Watch Dogs 2 is a game for nerds, whereas Watch Dogs 1 should have been a game for nerds, but it tried to be too edgy and too fucking cool. Whereas Watch Dogs 2 is like, yeah, we love dumb shit. Our base is literally in a board game shop, for fuck's sake. In the process, I add the random guy standing around in that board game shop that tells you that your deck is trash. despite not really giving accurate information as to what game he's talking about. These things are real. This is realistic. This is real life, people. This happens.
Too real.
This fucking happens. We could add the rabbit from Fury into that.
Yeah.
He's
a great character.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, he fits right into your justification, Jesse, where you said that, you know, the main character doesn't talk much. The supporting character kind of has to provide the exposition and the build around it. That's literally his role. And I always felt like there was a real degree of malice under everything he was doing. Like, he was there for his own benefit. And I was wondering why that was, you know, and why he was hanging around. That added a cool element of mystique to what's otherwise a boss rush game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
How about the Titan from Titanfall 2 single player?
That's a good one as well.
Because that's a really, you know, when you immediately think about Titanfall, you kind of just associate the Titans as a tool, but that game really cements like a personality, and the way you get the Titan is its owner basically dies and gives you command, like bonds you to it almost. And then it's always there for you for the rest of the game. You kind of feel a bit attached to it when it's off fighting or being wrecked or whatever. You kind of feel like, oh God, I need, you know, you get protective over it, even though you're the human and it's the Titan. And I thought that kind of connected you. It grounded you a lot in the single player experience of Titanfall, and it really made you feel it almost a bit like a parent, but it protected you and you protected it as kind of a, you know, vice versa kind of thing. I really thought that was a cool experience.
Yeah, there's definitely like Terminator 2 feel, sort of boy and his droid kind of thing going on with that. You know, that some people dug. I personally wasn't into it, but I can definitely see why other people would be. It's a good narrative tool to as you said, ground the experience. I agree with that.
I thought it was kind of a fresh angle as well. Like a lot of single player games, like, you know, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, they kind of similar-ish stories where there's a load of expendable characters. And this one, I don't know, the juxtaposition of the thing that can defend you is kind of like a big child and you have to look after it. I don't know, it's just that it kind of kept you on your toes emotionally and, you know, game mechanic wise. It was a really interesting angle I think they took.
Speaking of that, incidentally, going into COD, Ethan from the Infinite Warfare campaign, who is he's almost the comic relief robot.
Yeah, all right.
He's the robot character, enhanced tactical humanoid third revision. He's pretty sarcastic. He's quite funny. He does badass things for the sake of doing badass things. And in a campaign that's very dumb, very bombastic, very in your face Call of Duty, it provides like a degree of action movie self-awareness, I think. The rest of it doesn't. So I think he's pretty good. Like, I was always interested in seeing what he had to say in a cutscene as opposed to everybody else who I can't even remember the fucking names of at this point.
Yeah, no, that's good one.
The answer that I wrote down is like kind of a trolley answer, and it's also a spoiler, so I won't say it. But I think that Vladdy from Maze was a fantastic side character. I think that the payoff with Onion Knight in Dark Souls 3, like he's always been a fantastic side character, and I know everybody who knows that I haven't played Dark Souls 3 yet is going to be so upset that I know that this happened. But you meet Onion Knight in Dark Souls 3 and he like fights with you for the first time, and it's like such a satisfying feeling after 3 games to just be like, oh my god, he's like jumping into battle with me, we're like actual bros finally.
Is his actual? I'm not a big Dark Souls fan. Is his actual character name Onion Knight, or did people name him that because it's got some kind of? I think like a round head or something stupid. Like
because his armor is like onion armor. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy with the big sort of bulky armor. Yeah, he was in a couple of the Dark Souls games, wasn't he?
Is that his name?
Something like that.
I just remember JP called him Onion Bro. The first time I ever encountered him. I've watched a lot of Dark Souls streams, but I never saw this character if he's in the other ones. And then like JP was talking to him, went, "Whoa, what's up, Onion Bro?" And I was like, "That seems kind of like he's specifically saying it like it's a running joke or a known thing."
It is, yeah, because everybody loves the Onion Knight. He's just a fantastic character that's recurring and wonderful. There are lots of great side characters in Stardew Valley. And my trolley answer had to do with Inside. It was a goof with Inside, so
we're not allowed to spoil Inside.
It made me laugh though for myself. So
who's your favorite Stardew Valley person?
Oh gosh. That's really hard. I think that they did such a good job of characterizing everyone in that town. I think that pretty much every single person, if you take the time to interact with them and find out their backstory and what's going on in their lives, like they wind up feeling very real. Like there are people dealing with really, realistic, interesting stuff where you're like, oh my God, I've met you before, like in real life. Like I know this person, So I just think overall, a lot of the Stardew Valley characters have value as side characters and like building that town for you and making you care about it.
It's such an interesting game that it's so kind of light-hearted. It's almost like a little mobile game. I'll plant my crops, sell my crops. Yeah. But then like you go to the shop and he's like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to shut down now because the mart's selling things for cheaper than me. And you're like, whoa, it's got really heavy really quick.
Yeah, like, you're like, oh, this girl's really cute. Maybe I'll start interacting with her a bit more. Oh, your mom's an alcoholic.
Yeah, right. It gets really deep.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Really cool game.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we got more categories for our fake fucking award show. Yeah. We're going to fill 6 hours of this. We're not going to do 6 hours today, obviously, but we're going to cut more. We're going to cut more hours to go. So you're watching the Co-Optional Podcast and the Co-Opties Fake Video Game Awards. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-Opties Fake Video Game Award Show. We're now in the talk show category, by the way. There's no gaming talk show category anymore. Twitch has gone to the dogs.
Been going downhill recently, bro.
Yeah.
Wait, it's just called talk show now?
Yeah.
So we can talk about anything?
I guess so. We can't. Although
Welcome
does that
to
mean
our Pop-Tart podcast. What's the best Pop-Tart?
specifically means we can't talk about video games? Who knows?
Not strawberry. You mean cinnamon is the best Pop-Tart?
Something.
I don't have a favorite Pop-Tart.
Yeah, because they're all shit, really.
They are pretty grim.
Of all the shit, cinnamon is the best.
It's going to be confusing for at least a couple of weeks because I'm going to put the wrong thing in the title. So it's awful that Twitch did this, and they've ruined the only unique thing about Twitch and killed the soul of Twitch and all the
How
other
dare they?
things.
Twitch is basically dead.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the other things that I saw on the little subreddit about Twitch with people who have about 20 viewers at most.
It's over. Twitch is over.
It's over.
It's dead. It's dead.
They're literally handing it to the women. The women. All those women who are very, very popular on Twitch. No, seriously, that's an argument some people try to fucking make because we now have an IRL category. That means we're handing it to the cam girls and the women. The women are getting an unfair advantage now.
Hand it to me, the women.
Because people that actually want to look at them. Ah.
Yeah, wait, pause. Are they complaining that they're making it so women are streaming themselves and I gotta go watch now? Like, that is the weirdest argument.
It's crazy.
Damn them for making me go watch these women.
Oh my God.
See, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, so you're basically admitting that you're gonna go and watch cam girls. Like that's not my fault.
Fine, you could
it's
go
the
watch
exact
if you
same
want.
problem when people are like, it's the Walmart fallacy of like, Walmart's ruined everything, but man, do they have good deals. It's like that thing. Like, they're ruining everything, but I love shopping there.
Hey, I'm just going to make this argument. If you can't outdo with your content a cam girl, someone who is just literally dancing around on the stream or whatever, or just happens to be pretty, then you're shit anyway. Like, it wouldn't have made a difference. And I'm sorry, but yes, show me the massive list of top 100 Twitch channels and how many of them are women and cam girls, because I have a feeling that hasn't changed very much.
Yo, straight up, don't even hate on those cam girls. Don't do it.
Why would you?
Everything has a place on the internet. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking like...
How is it any worse than streaming fucking video games?
Everything has a place on the internet. You can't like that.
You're interfering with the serious business of streaming video games.
Yeah, man.
How fucking dare you do that thing?
This is really important work. You don't understand.
Absolutely. You're tearing apart the fabric of our society.
That is funny as shit, by the way, just to think about that. Like, people losing their shit over, like, but my gaming stream!
I know. It's
more people like me are going to take over who just sit there and talk about their hair dye for like
an
hour.
You were doing that anyway. It's not like...
I know.
Nothing has changed.
I get to just keep living my life, man.
Wow, Dodger is like a Twitch suffragette. She fought before it was allowed. She was out in the street talking about hair dye.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh god.
She spearheaded the attack.
Yeah. You were out there in the front lines.
Indeed.
Bless you. Bless you. You're gonna get a holiday one day.
Basically, it's all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And such. Okay, let's move in.
Lemon. Sorry.
There we go. I had to fit that in there somewhere, considering how much fucking bullshit about Twitch IRLs come the last week. God damn it! Like, do any of us look worried? No. Okay, let's move on. Best VR experience. Sacriel, I think you tossed this one in here.
Oh.
Because like, VR is a big thing this year,
Yeah.
right? So I figure that'll be an interesting one to share our views on.
Got mine.
Yeah, I agree on that one because it's like, honestly, like VR's in such a weird place at the moment where it's still trying to kind of create a market and claw out of obscurity, and because it's very expensive and you need really good hardware to run the Vive and the Oculus on, and there aren't actually that many real games out for it yet. A lot of early access stuff, a lot of just shit that was thrown together in Unreal Engine just for the sake of it. Yeah, there is a lack of that. So, yeah, let's talk about the stuff we played on VR that's actually been good and that we thought was worthwhile.
I love that damn archery game.
What's
There's
it
a lot
called?
of, yeah, swords and archery ones.
The one that's inside of the just like Valve workshop thing.
Oh,
the NVIDIA Funhouse thing.
it's in the
Is
Valve's
this the one
lab,
where they're like
I
little
think.
black stick figures that just like try to attack your face and you're like, fuck you. I could play that game all day and then I would be more ripped than people who masturbate 24/7. Like your arms hurt so bad.
I'm not
I love it.
100% sure that that's how it works.
I love
I
it.
don't know if that's how you get ripped, but I'm
That is
willing
how you
to
get
experiment.
ripped. That's what cartoons taught me.
I am
Something
down
might
to
rip.
for science. I'm in.
For
Yeah.
science, Jesse.
I'm in.
I think
Yeah.
all the UFC champions just play VR all day. I think that's how they.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
You just
absolutely.
do
Like
archery.
porn. Yep. Oh, I mean
Yeah, with-
archery.
Yeah.
I mean archery.
So, yes.
With the juicy controller, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Have you guys played the? Oh God!
Can't get this thing to work.
Have you guys played the accounting game by the Rick and Morty people?
I
Yes,
have
that's
not,
amazing.
and I should.
Oh, it's free. It's totally free, and it's like I think it's like a tech demo. I think they're testing the waters before they make an actual Rick and Morty game, but it is super, super, super genius. It's so wacky. It's so funny. And they do like this is kind of a weird Inception thing where you're basically the concept is you go to do accounting for this weird company, and then while you're doing the accounting, like you put on a VR headset in the game, and you're in a VR in VR, and you start to go like it's almost like Inception. You go down through the levels, and then you have to start doing weird stuff to get back. It's super interesting. It's really wacky, really zany, really innovative. Can't recommend it enough, and it's free. Super good. If you like Rick and Morty, it will have you in stitches.
I played a couple of recent titles that came out with the Oculus Touch that I feel like are really sort of pushing things forward. Super Hot in VR is fucking awesome, by the way.
Is it?
Yep.
Awesome.
We've talked a lot about, I think Jesse coined the term the stupor. The stupor, which kind of is for those shooters where you're kind of standing on a platform and you've got a limited
Standing
amount of
on the
movement.
stoop, so to speak.
Yeah,
Okay.
stand on a stoop, and you dodge around the place, but you're not walking a lot. Super Hot is a perfect example of that working well, particularly because that game involves a lot of fine movement around a limited space, which, rather than full-on room scale, which is perfect. And it's got a lot of, you remember the main game had a lot of shit like catching a gun out of midair as it falls from a guy that you just hit.
Right.
Cutting a bullet in half with a sword. Take that, put it on fucking really accurate controllers and let you do that for real. It's fucking awesome. Reaching across my room to catch a fucking gun in midair and then just fucking throwing it at some fuck's head. I picked up an ashtray and threw it at a bullet to fucking deflect it out of the air. And because, of course, it's all done in time only moves when you do, it's perfect to pull off those really awesome action movie moves.
I don't know. When I imagine like a bullet coming at me, and if I can't dodge it fast enough, the anxiety in my mind of being in VR with a bullet right here and being like, I'm gonna die. Like,
That's why you'll never be a leader.
Stresses me out.
You're designed to follow, not to lead.
On your sheep,
Wow.
bro.
Weakness.
Wow.
weakness. You need to get over that. If you play a bunch of it, you may very well get over that weakness. Consider it.
Sure, yeah.
It's a personality building thing.
Okay.
You have to do that. Other one, Arizona Sunshine, is a one. It's come out quite recently. It's mostly just a zombie shooter, but it's a really detailed looking one, and it's sort of pushing the graphical boundaries of what VR can do right now. And it felt really good to hold a gun in that game. A lot of VR games have tried to do the I'm holding a gun and all that kind of thing, and I'm reloading a gun. This one just works really well. The first gun you just get your old Colt 1911, and you're just popping zombies. You're being really careful with your aiming, and you feel like it's lining up pretty much exactly with where your hand is, which is awesome. It feels good because the controller's got a good trigger on it. The reloading, you basically like slap it down to your belt level to put a magazine in, which is a pretty good way of doing it. Quite a few games have been experimenting with more realistic reloading in VR because they think, hey, maybe that's what people want. Of course, the problem with that is that it does have a tendency of dragging the game down a bit. It slows it down maybe too much. It's too fiddly.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a terrible idea to me.
Oh, yeah. Some people love it, though. Some people really liked it in hover junkers and things like that. To me, like, just slapping the controller down to sort of waist level and basically putting in a magazine from your belt is kind of perfect. And they represent it well in the game by having you have an ammo belt with ready magazines there, so your character properly animates. So that worked pretty well for me. Those are more sort of recent VR experiences that I've really enjoyed, that I think are really good.
If I could say, I played a lot of VR with the PSVR recently, but still, to this day, if I had to base best VR on most fun had, and I don't know that this deserves to win, but I think it's the most fun I had with VR, is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
That is a great one, yeah.
Yes.
And because most of it is not in the VR, I don't know how much it qualifies, but man, as a VR experience, I had the most fun playing that game.
It's a game that works outside of VR as well.
Yeah.
So
you could play it with VR or without. For the person who is in VR, sure, I mean, it's kind of convenient because you're isolated from the rest of the world, and the other player is a voice in your ear, quite literally.
Yeah, I think it works best in VR.
That's a game that's enhanced by VR that doesn't require VR, which is fine. Honestly, that's probably the best idea right now, considering the install base for VR is limited. We're already entering time when VR multiplayer games are coming out. I'm thinking, oh god, do I know enough people that have this to even make that a thing? What Werewolf Within and the Star Trek Bridge experience and things like that are coming along. Like, oh god, I need to find other people that have fucking things and they're set up and they actually want to use it. God, that's going to be tricky. So that is definitely a bit of an issue. So I do like those optional ones.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
With the Keep Talking, I've only ever played the normal version, so you got one person, doing the bomb and reading out the dials and all that, and then the other person's got like the manual, right?
Yes.
In the VR version, is it still the same? Like one person just has a PDF.
The exact same thing.
Yes.
Because imagine if both people were in VR and the person with the manuals was like sat at a desk.
Oh, that'd be impossible.
And you have to get like manuals out.
Pages.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
And you could like drop. It would be so fun though, because you could drop manuals and they'd be like, "Oh, I need to do a bomb thing," and you're looking around like, "Where did I drop that manual?" Like, I think that would be super fun.
If text reproduction was better on the devices, it would probably be fine. The problem is it's
the thing.
not.
Text is almost always slightly blurry.
Yeah, you have to look at it at a very specific angle, which is one of like the worst features of VR right now that I really don't like. It's definitely something that needs to be worked on. I feel like the Oculus does it a little better than the Vive, but not by much.
I feel like no matter what I do, pretty much every VR headset I put on, right in here, it might be because my head's small, I don't know, but like right in here is always blurry, or like I see double.
No, it's the same problem for me, and I always assumed it's because I have glasses when I have to do that. And I was like, oh, well, I have 2 sets of lenses, so maybe that's the problem. No, as far as I'm aware, VR just is not capable of having text.
It's not high enough resolution. Like, think about it. The resolution per eye is not actually that high right now.
Yeah.
Like, in future platforms, when we move up and past 4K, it'll probably be fine. But right now, computers can barely handle what they're being tasked with in the first place. So, there is a bit of an issue with that. I sort of moving on to something that is potentially cool that we haven't really used, but I love the idea of tabletop sim VR.
That's such a cool idea.
Oh my god! I mean, I've seen what it can do, and it's amazing. Like you can literally juggle with the pieces between two people. It's that accurate in the multiplayer. Whether or not that will become a thing at some point, it might. It has a bit of potential, certainly, and I think that it's got a lot of potential for people who are, either just introverted or kind of homebound for medical reasons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting level, an interesting research part. I think it's a good product to look at and see. Hey, can VR be a bit more than what we think it can be?
Right.
Can we develop it in such a way that it can be a bit of a better social tool? You can already.
Aren't they already using VR to help people who have partially paralyzed limbs?
Yes, to some extent. Although you've also got to bear in mind, of course, that a lot of VR is like, you need to move quite a lot. So it's specific pieces of software. It has therapeutic uses as well, I think.
Absolutely. You like meditative.
Yeah, I use one on a plane.
Really quickly. Like, this is something that I think media gets wrong every time, and it annoys me to death. Every time they show the future, VR is always a fat dude in a dark room pretending to be a woman online seducing. Every time that there's that scene.
Yeah,
and in reality, most VR is what we're talking about. Like in the future, it would be to help people in ways that we can't even think about yet. It's not going to be some guy like, yay, my name's Doomy22, let's bang. Like it's not.
There'll always be that aspect, but that's saying that's all the internet
that person
is.
exists, sure.
There are lots of those people, yeah.
But like, where's the like cool Overwatch version of that world? Where it's just like, you know what?
The optimistic version
cool right now.
2016 hasn't exactly been full of optimism. I think that's probably got a lot to do with it, but there are plenty of practical applications. Again, I use the Samsung Gear on a plane to reduce flight anxiety. Because if I'll go sit on the top of a fucking mountain in a really cool detailed 360 photo, or watch a movie on the moon, that kind of thing, and that it does help reduce my flight anxiety a little bit. I think that there are plenty of applications for it beyond that, and that'll probably be the mainstream use for it. Because let's bear in mind, the most popular VR headset by a country mile is the Gear, which we keep not talking about because obviously we talk a lot about gaming. But the Gear has outsold all the other VR headsets massively because it's only $100. You need
it's affordable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just need a specific phone for it. And there are other things coming out. Google's making their own proper version that isn't just the cardboard. There's some third-party ones. Using the phone as a VR, as a method to experience some form of VR will probably be the near future real application of it in the mainstream. We'll see more people on planes with them to watch movies. We'll see more people playing more basic games on them. There's plenty of games that just run via head tracking.
I think as people, and this is a very like dark version of the future, but as more and more people are afraid to travel, they'll use this instead.
Yeah.
This will be their travel substitute. Like, well, I don't want to go to that area of the world, but man, do I want to see it. I'm there.
Yeah, and also like in a more positive spin, people who would never get the opportunity to travel will be able to see things they never would be able to see.
Yeah, totally. There's all sorts of positive aspects of it, Hell, if I just toss in, my best VR experience was actually just watching a movie on the moon on a plane. Or watching Netflix in a fucking virtual ski chalet. It had nothing to do with video games. I guess my best experience was actually watching my mother do that. Watching someone go into VR the first time is fascinating as hell.
It's the best.
There is video footage that no one has ever seen of me doing the deep sea VR
Yeah, I believe in that.
And I fall the fuck apart. I'm just like, fucking like fucking trying to throw it off of my face. It feels so real sometimes.
Like, yeah, the thing that you need to do is pick like a calming version of VR and give it to especially a baby boomer and watch them just be like, holy shit.
Watch it unlock it.
It's a beautiful moment. It's just like, oh, it's so cute.
My wife let my mother-in-law do a bit of the Everest climb thing with the Vive.
Yes.
As someone who can't, she can't walk very well, she's certainly not going to be ever going to Everest. That was a really cool, moment to be able to see someone be able to experience part of that.
Mm-hmm.
They recently, by the way, if you've got the blue, which is the underwater one,
Yeah.
They actually recently updated it, and Shannon's sister's come around to stay, and we showed her the blue. It's my go-to whenever I want to show how good VR is. I put them on the blue and on that pirate ship, and the manta ray goes past, and they're like, "Okay, this is pretty cool," and they turn around and see the whale and freak out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
I
her
like
sister
cry
just like
laugh
curled into a
because
ball.
I was so terrified and also like
Amazed.
odd. Yeah.
But they've just updated the blue, so I put her in there's three, right? You got the whale one, then you've got the tortoise one with the jellyfish, and then there's the dark one where you're kind of inside the carcass of a whale on the seabed.
Yeah, that one has a really good
It's
payoff.
gonna come attack me, right? No, definitely not. You promise? Yeah, absolutely promise. And they've updated it, and something comes at the end, and I had no idea.
No, what?
So she's like,
I
all
thought
the
that it
fish have
was-
run away. All the fish have run away. I'm like, it's fine. It's just the end of the demo. And then she looks up. I'm not going to spoil it. It's like, if you've got it, go and try it. And
Very
she just like curled into a ball and just dropped to the floor. I was just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
sorry. It's so good. But just seeing that reaction is
Jesse,
amazing.
Zero shark life. Have shark free. It's the way to be.
It's not a shark. I'm terrified of sharks. It's not a shark, but it's super cool.
The entire whale one, I spent the entire time, even though everyone was like, look at the whale, look at the whale. I was looking behind me because I was like, look, the whale over there's got my back. I don't know what. I'll turn around. It's like, whale, we cool. He's over there staring at me. We having a good time. Whatever's behind me, though, is like, why those fish disappear? Shit's coming. Nothing comes, but the entire time I'm looking the opposite direction. Like,
oh my god.
The blue has a really, really good progression because there's the like tortoise one where there's nothing big.
Yeah,
there's nothing big.
look
It's
too
all
scary.
just like sweet, peaceful shit, and you're like, wow, it's so pretty. And then you do the whale one, you're like, fuck, it's a whale, but like it's a whale, so it's not gonna like, but like it's a fucking whale and it's huge.
I don't know, when it's tailed, when it leaves and it goes like woof, past your face, everyone backs away like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's intimidating.
Yeah.
And then the third one, great, it's so good.
I do hope that, like, in 2017, we do see more services start to offer it as VR as for a virtual event attendance. I think that's a hugely strong element that hasn't really been exploited yet. And there's a couple of reasons for that. You know, you can, if you're trying to stream that level of detail with a full 360 cam, you don't even have to do 360. You can do 180, as porn has perfected, apparently. Apparently, most porn, I of course would not know that, is filmed with a 180 cam. There's actually a and I've said this before, there's a fascinating little video on YouTube. I can't remember which website one did it, where they spoke to someone who was doing VR porn direction, and she was directing the actresses as to where they had to stand, what specific things they had to do as a result
yeah,
of
imagine
that.
That's a whole nother level of like work.
Yeah, it actually is, and she was very knowledgeable about specifics, you know, about cinematography and all that kind of thing, and having to, it's like, this is a 180-degree camera, and the perspective is going to be completely different, so you're going to have to think about that. But all of that also applies to, like, live event attendance. I said before, and I think this is still one of the best things you can do on the Gear VR. It's Vice that did the video on it. They do occasionally do good things. There's a little 2-minute WWE video that puts you in the middle of the crowd during an entrance and a little clips and matches. It's like, this is the fucking next generation of pay-per-view. $50. I'll pay to watch your event via VR. If I can't go to the real thing, absolutely. I want to be in the middle of the crowd, hearing the crowd from all sides, being that close to the ring, not relying on the fucking editing of the main show and what the production team does. It's like, no, don't cut there. I want to be looking at this instead or whatever. That, I will pay for that. I will pay for that, and I think a lot of people will.
Concerts, especially. Oh my god!
Yes,
that
absolutely, 100%.
Incredible.
Yeah, totally. Sports.
You could be on stage, right?
Yeah,
they could just have a camera. They could have a stick on stage with the 360 camera, and you're just on stage looking at the people playing the instruments, right?
Sports, you're literally on the sidelines. That's like stick a camera right there.
Sports will be a big deal.
UFC, like if they had cameras on all the corners of the octagon, like when they're fighting, you could just pick a corner and just
it'll be a thing.
Stand up or crouch and look at all the angles.
Yeah,
I can almost certainly think it will be with the sort of widespread adaptation of gear and the other mobile headsets. It will be a thing. It just is a case of you've got to get the streaming good enough, because nothing like taking you out of the experience. Like, oh god, my entire vision just went blurry and blocky and froze, you know?
My head's buffering.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not at all good. But yeah, what I've seen of that is really, really, really promising. You know, and they're doing stuff with esports as well with Dota VR, and there's a company that's doing spectator stuff. So yeah, cool. Right, let's we've stuck around in that category for quite a while, but to be fair, you know, VR is kind of a big deal.
It's a good category, yeah.
Okay. All right, Jesse, let's get yours out of the way. Something that
Another Jesse.
this ties into VR as well. Best fandom : Erotica.
Oh, we aren't gonna do just best fandom first. Oh,
Well,
Colon Erotica.
But you had best fandom as a separate category.
Yeah, there's best fandom,
All right.
and then there's best fandom.
Okay, let's do best
We can talk
fandom
about
first, and then
together.
we'll tie in. Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
we can combine
Jesse
both.
came
This
up with
is
this.
easy. This is easy.
Jesse asked me last week, it's like, are there any limits on what we can do? I'm like, this. You've been with the podcast long enough. You know, we can get away with this shit. So, yeah, sure.
All right, we'll combine them. So this is 2 answers you have to give, guys.
Great.
First off, I'm gonna just 100% say best fandom. Even though I'm not a part of it, I totally appreciate it. Dark Souls. I think 2016 was a huge Dark Souls fandom year, and even though I'm not in it, I can appreciate the love people have for the game, and it's a fandom that is like next level in dedication and devotion to it. So I appreciate it, and for the most part, and I may be wrong as a person not a part of it, I think overall they seem very welcoming of people who want to know more about their world.
Relatively speaking, yeah. Like,
I feel like I feel like they nailed that. And of course, best Fandom Erotica is Overwatch. Hands down. Hands down. That is the winner. There is no need to discuss it. That's the
probably
winner.
not. Just the sheer explosion of that.
It is. They win. And here's what I'll say. This is the last time we'll mention Overwatch this year, because y'all, last year when we did this, all we talked about was Overwatch, and the game hadn't even come out yet. So this year, the only thing Overwatch wins is best
Fandom Erotica.
Screw all of you.
Done. That's it. We're done talking about Overwatch.
I remember that. We spent so much time in 2015 talking about Overwatch, and people were complaining their heads off.
Pissed. Yeah.
And then when we finally said, all right, cool, then we'll stop talking about Overwatch, they then complained that we weren't talking about Overwatch because that was the launch week. And it's like, no, you should talk about Overwatch now. You shouldn't have been talking about it for the last year. It's like, we got all we gotta say out of it.
It's almost like the viewers aren't one entity with one mind.
I don't believe you in the slightest.
It's weird, right?
Weird. It's totally
We are podcasting as slaves of the singularity, and we must appease it.
Appease the swarm.
Best co-optional viewership group. Like,
I have mine.
Yeah, what you got?
I would say best fandom this year would be Stardew Valley. Like the amount of mods and just fan interaction about the game, the love for the game is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the new patch came out and people were just over the moon excited about it. Mods are still coming out all the time, and it was released like earlier this year. So I would say that's been like the coolest blow up of a fandom that I've seen this year. Best fandom Erotica, I would say Fire Emblem. I've seen a lot of titties from Fire Emblem.
That's a game almost about pairings. Let me put it that way. It's building the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised you didn't throw Stardew Valley in on that one as well, because there's some definitely shipping cross nonsense with that.
There is, but there isn't quite as much. There isn't like a huge, at least as far as I've seen. Chat, you can feel free to disagree with me, but I haven't seen a huge, like fan fiction and fan art surge from it, as much as just I want to add to this game. Like, people spend a lot of time making mods specifically. They want to like be part of the game creation.
Okay.
But Fire Emblem Fates, people were like, yo, I want to see those two people put stuff in stuff, and then they draw it.
Well, that's because the very first trailer was just like a boob woman going like, "Come to me." Like, that was the trailer. So really, like,
it's that boob women taking over the IRL category.
Oh my god, they're giving it to women.
The women.
Fuck.
It's weird actually that Fire Emblem does come up quite a bit when it comes to that. It's like, this is a tactical battle game. And yet, for some reason, there's a ton of porn of it and a ton of, like, cross-ship, whatever the weird weeb thing that you guys do with that.
It does not matter what the actual content of the game is. If people can be, like, turned on by a character in it, you can make a game that's a puzzle game. Hell, there's portal porn. There's portal porn, and that's just like, I open portals and walk through them. People are like, Yeah, but I'd bang her though.
All
right.
You
Through
don't
a
walk
portal,
through
am I
them.
right?
Think of the possibilities, though. Think of the angles, man.
That's
The portals,
creative.
dude.
You can do all sorts of things with that. That's
Yeah.
I imagine the source filmmaker was put to good use. Although weirdly enough, like Fire Emblem is, especially the latest ones, have been full of completely beautiful characters. Like all the men are attractive, all the women are attractive, and they can have relationships and get married, and there's actual like player benefits to that, and they can have kids. So yeah, of course, there's a ton of fanfic and shit like that.
But also Sully. Let's take a minute and appreciate that Sully is still the best. 2 games later, still the best character.
But Pickles, we're not appreciating Pickles.
But Pickles the drummer
I love.
from Metalocalypse.
It's like the sweetest pickle. Fucking don't even get me started. Fandom wise, I'd like to give a nod to the Civilization fandom for Civ 6.
Yeah,
Sort of in
true.
a similar way to the Dark Souls fandom, you would expect them to be a lot less welcoming and understanding than they seem to be. Particularly the subreddit r/Civ. They particularly to me, like when I did a video on it, I definitely expected a lot of actually and then 5 pages. Because
Right.
let's be honest, it's a very, very detailed game. I'll probably make a mistake. I have played all the Civ games, but I don't play thousands of hours of each. You know, I'll put a little bit of time to each of them. There was none of that. They were super understanding about it. They were just happy that somebody liked it.
That's the key. Is most Civ players are just like thrilled someone else is into Civ. Like, oh, you like Civ too?
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter if you're like, I know all the ins and outs of everything.
And they seem to appreciate playing it on kind of every level. Like, you know, there's obviously a lot of those hardcore guys, they'll play it on Immortal, you know, or is it Deity or Immortal? It's top level. Well, fucked up now. But yeah, there's a lot of that. It's like, you know, here's how to optimize your build order. Here's how to win in multiplayer based on this. Here's the strongest faction. Here's the tier list. But even if you don't play it at that level, it doesn't matter because the chances are you've still got a cool story and they just want to hear about it. It's like, yeah, I was Samaria and got the nuclear bomb in 1622, and you know Mozart was born in the Congo and all that kind of thing. It was an interesting experience to see what should have been, you know, very probably insular fandom actually be very welcoming and really chill. And just happy that people are enjoying it on some level and willing to say, you don't enjoy it in the same level that I do, but that's cool, because as long as you're having fun, dude. So that was great, and for some reason, my streams were very chill for Civ as well. Probably because there was literally hours of nothing, but people seemed to just enjoy
Sean Bean's voice.
Yeah.
Like, that really adds to the chill.
It was interesting. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with them on that one.
Well, one thing I think about the Civ guys is it's one of those communities where I think a lot of the people in the Civ community think it's super niche, but Civ is kind of really mainstream. Like,
it's the most mainstream niche.
It's like, I hate Civ.
It's
but
like
when they hear of a new Civ player, they're like, "Oh, he likes this." Like, it feels like they're like surprised.
It is odd. I mean, it's a massively popular part of a genre which is generally very niche. Like, you can technically say Civ 6 is a grand strategy. Like, Civilization's a grand strategy game. But when you think of grand strategy, you otherwise think of Hearts of Iron, Europa Universalis, all that kind of thing. It's like, whoa, you know, Crusader Kings, the stuff that's pretty damn difficult to get into. But Civ, I think it has a lot of much older players. Like,
we all played Civ like in the 90s.
It's been around for so long.
I don't know. I have literally no proof to back this up, but just anecdotally, it feels like Civilization has a far more older and mature audience than most games. And so the people you interact with are ones who are not going to be like, get out of here, shit lord, and like talk. You'd be like, I got a job I got to go to tomorrow morning. I would love to talk to you, but I got shit to do. Like they're not going to be all up your ass because you don't know this thing or that thing. They'll be like,
totally.
Here's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it was, if I recall correctly, and my late grandfather, God rest his soul, where he had very, very, very limited experience with games. I mean, you know, when he got a PC, he was in his 70s, for God's sake. But there were a couple of things that he tried and sort of got a little bit into. One of them was Caesar, and the other one was Civ. And I think there's a good reason for that, and I think a lot of the older players of Civ probably started with the original Civ back on DOS, because the series has been out over 20 years, and the original colonization, and they kept playing it through its iterations through to where they are now, and they're now 20, 25 years older, and they're still playing a Civ game. So maybe there's a bunch of that's got to do with it.
I think part of it is like a mental fulfillment you get. It's almost like when you're like, for me, I was like 10 or 12 or something when the first one came out, or Civ 2. I think the first one I played was Civ 2 around my brother's friend's house, who was a bit older than me, and he's playing this game, and I was like, what's this? And he was explaining, oh, we're going to get more food here so we can grow and all this. And I was like, I could see the pride he had in playing it. Yeah. And then I got it, and then I had that pride. And I think a lot of people that have ever played one of the older Civs, it's almost like a rite of passage. You're like, the next one now, I need to play that. I need to kind of get back to that feeling of, I don't know, there's something when you play Civ for the first time and you understand how grand it is and how strategic and all these amazing ways of playing it. Each time you play a new Civ, you kind of recapture that for a little
bit of it.
Like, you feel a bit like that 15-year-old that played Civ 2 for the first time, and you're like, oh, okay,
I agree. Yeah, and it's one of the few series that has been around for that long that continues to produce good games. Like they're not all totally perfect. There are some, especially that Civ 5 at launch was a fuckfest. But even with that, you still felt like I was 20 years younger, and
Absolutely.
I captured that again. And every time a game comes out in that series that does that, it's like, that's special. There's not many games that can still do that because, like fucking Sonic will never fucking capture that feeling again because everything that comes out in the Sonic franchise is fucking awful. So you can't get that feeling anymore. But Civ's been consistently good over like 25 years.
I think Mario Doom had a little bit of that, kind of that feeling of just like, you can just let go and just play it. You don't really have to think, oh, what's the best strategy? It's just like, let's just shoot a load of stuff.
I think that's the key, because usually people associate exhilaration with feeling younger, but this is not the case with Civ.
No,
it's more about just like you suddenly let go and 6 hours passes in an instant. You're just like,
That's so true.
You know what? I'm not even gonna worry about shit. I'm gonna be Sumeria, and I'm just gonna have nukes in 1426.
Making my own history.
And it's super fun. You just let go of everything, and it doesn't matter how you play because you're playing for the fun of a game. And I think that's Civ nails it every time. They may not all be the best version of Civ, but it's still everyone's a quality game every time it comes out. Like
you always have that hallmark of Civ, I think.
Yes, I agree with that. It's about crafting your own story, which to me is always going to be the biggest strength of video games. Whenever you're able to do that, and Civ's always been about that.
That's a perfect segue to my kind of offering for Fandom, which would be I don't know whether you can really say this game came out this year, but this game released on Steam this year, so I'm going to kind of write it in. RimWorld.
Hey, yeah, that's a good one.
An absolutely outstanding game where more than probably any other game I've ever played, you really can tell a story because so much random stuff can happen. And the fans of RimWorld are generally really welcoming, really wonderful people. Their Reddit is incredible. There's this new
I agree.
Meme thing they do where they do like a 4-part cartoon of just ridiculous shit that happened in their RimWorld. Like they'll be like, oh, we're being attacked by raiders and this and that, and then the camera will like flick around and there'll be like some dude doing something stupid, like cutting someone's leg off while they're trying to, patch a wound or some ridiculous shit. And there's always like we all share these stories of like, have you ever had it in RimWorld where your doctor cut someone's head off when they're trying to splint the leg, or I had one where all the squirrels on the planet went crazy and they started attacking my base, so I locked all the doors. They bashed the door into the hospital.
Oh my god!
Hospital and started attacking the hospital beds, and one of my guards, which was on automatic defend himself, turned around with a machine gun and just started blasting at them and started killing the people in the hospital beds because he was missing the girls. And like, you can't write that stuff.
Oh my god!
And, the people you shoot might get saved, but then like they lose an eye, and then you keep them for another year in game, and you finally get to replace their eye with a bionic one. You're like, I remember when your eye got shot out by the guy killing the squirrels. Like, you really remember these stories.
A level of depth, yeah. I mean, Dwarf Fortress, has been like that for years, but obviously it's a very complicated game to get into UI wise. It's crazy. But the one example I have of RimWorld, I haven't played it, and I probably will at some point, but I haven't played it. Was their general response to what I kind of view as a hit piece that was written on a certain gaming website where a journalist basically ascribed a bunch of politics to the game and claimed that was a bad thing because there were certain parts of the code which kind of dictated some basic behaviors for genders That sort of, and these behaviors, according to the developer, were very much, they were just there until he could think of something better, although he had based them on some certain real-life stats and everything. There were a bunch of falsehoods in the story, and I don't want to dive into it too much or give it too much attention, but the reaction from their community, especially on Reddit, was very measured. It wasn't like a vicious, like, oh god, we feel like we've been horribly offended. Or it's like, oh god, the SJW, they're at it again. We must strike back, etc. It was none of that bullshit. It was just like, let's have a calm discussion about this article. What's right? What's wrong? The developer got involved. The developer has certain political views that I don't agree with. You know, he's a fairly right-wing fellow as far as I'm aware. You know, and I'm a British lefty. But he had a like full-on discussion with a couple of people in the thread that clearly like had different political views to him, and it was all completely fucking above board and constructive, and it was educational too. I think that everyone like watching that discussion learned a lot, and instead of being fucking accusatory and claiming certain things about certain people and demonizing people, it was very open discourse, which this year has certainly had a lack of. So I think that they've got to be given credit for that. It's very easy to react very with a knee-jerk defensive reaction when someone writes a hit piece or whatever about a game you like, because you view it as like part of your identity that you're being attacked. You know, and any of us that grew up with the fucking 90s moral majority media of demonizing video games fucking are very sensitive to that because we're sick to death of that shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you got to give him credit for reacting, I think, very well to that. But that was my one and only interaction with them. So I'm intrigued to play the game later on.
It's fantastic, and they just, for those of you watching, they just put out a massive new content patch where, for the first time, instead of just having your own colony that you build and try and get off the planet, you can actually visit and attack other colonies. So, like, the patches he puts out are absurd.
It's crazy.
Is absolutely mental, and some of the patches are so big that you could argue, why doesn't he just wait 3 patches and then sell it as a DLC, because they're so big, and he just keeps rolling out this content for his game day after like month after month. Rock solid updates, loads of testing. He's got an alpha, like a beta branch on Steam, so you can like test the game, like test the next branch before it comes out and submit bugs to him and stuff. Just it's such a great project from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that most of it's done by one guy. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Big respect to him, and definitely big respect to his fandom, I guess, for the most part.
Also, best name ever for a game, RimWorld. Come on. When you play it on Steam, on Twitch, everyone's coming out, oh, where's the Rim in and all this. Like, you had some balls to call it RimWorld.
I imagine there's lots of erotic fans as well. Jesus. Oh man. Right, cool. Is that the fandom category sort of done?
I feel like we hit everything. TB said his favorite erotica was Civ.
I'm fairly sure I did not. Although, to be fair, if it involved Sean Bean, I wouldn't.
Definitely was.
Yeah. Is Sean Bean
so
your hall pass? Your one exception, possibly? The uncomfortable silence ensues. Here's one. Sacriel, you came up with this one. I like this one a lot. This is a really cool category, especially considering who we've got here to talk about it. Best streaming game. And this could mean multiple things, like game you've enjoyed streaming the most, game that had a specific feature that allowed you to interact more, game that had interesting mechanics designed around streaming, game that was most watchable. There's all sorts of ideas for this.
So when I thought of the category, I was kind of specifically thinking like games that have kind of taken Twitch on board. Like there's some games that connect to your Twitch chat, and then the characters in the game that you experience will be named after people in chat. There's games that have been out for a couple of years where chat can like type things in and change the kind of enemies you're against or change the environment around you. And I think over the next couple of years, especially since Amazon just released, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they released a game recently. Sorry?
Streamline, was it?
Streamline, yeah, I think so. And it's got
It's not an Amazon game. It's not very good.
It's well, your sponsorship dollars are gone.
But I think there's loads of room for really interesting game mechanics that tie into Twitch chat. Like, so yeah, that was the kind of, I just wanted to get people's, nominations or opinions on any games they've had that they felt were really good for streaming?
The one that I wrote down as like the game that I think I enjoy and my audience consistently enjoys the most is Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But if I was going to say a game that has lots of good Twitch integration, I think the Jackbox Party Packs
Yes.
have a ton of Twitch integration now. That's really cool.
Yeah. Number 3 in particular did quite a bit with that. Like they realized with the original release that people were going to use it as a streaming game, and that people were going to play it remotely instead of in the same room, which it was not intended for. But instead of saying, well, God, we don't know how to deal with that, they came up with some ideas. They put direct Twitch integration in so that even if you were not playing the game, you could be part of the audience, which could influence the game in some way.
Yeah.
And initially it was just like an extra vote, basically. I think Quiplash was probably the first one that had some implementation.
Yeah, I think the original Quiplash, right? From the Party Pack 2.
Yeah, because that was Quiplash XL, but they released Quiplash after Jackbox 1 as a separate game. And then they integrated a bigger version, and they did the same with Fibbage and stuff like that. And yeah, you could be part of the audience. Now with Jackbox Party Pack 3, the audience in Trivia Murder Party can play together as one entity to try and outdo the streamers. And if they actually manage to beat them, they get a little news article at the end which said, hey, we got out with this amount of money and so forth. There's one where it's direct audience interaction that I play with Cry for a little bit, which is basically a game where the game will ask you questions, and it's like a higher or lower. It's a polling game, basically. It polls the audience. It's like, how many percentage of these people do you think have done this or seen this? And then the streamers have to vote basically higher or lower on it.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic, but it's
Which
fairly...
one is that?
Let me see which one it is.
That
what's
sounds
the name
super
of
fun.
it?
It's like Family Feud, except with the people who are watching you right now.
Kinda. It's Guespionage is the name of it. That works very... You've kind of almost got to play that one with an audience. You could play that without one, but obviously the bigger sample size you get, the better. So Guespionage is that, and it's interesting because there's an element of meta to it. What you say on stream could very well affect the answer. And is your chat trying to fuck with you? You know, are they going to deliberately lie on a specific answer? Maybe this one's like, how many times have you seen a naked Santa doing the electric boogaloo or whatever? And it's like, well, that's going to be like 1%, and then it ends up being 80% because people are fucking with you. Right. It's interesting. They haven't really fully nailed it down, because a lot of their solution to playing remotely is just, oh, well, we just extend the timers then. So, which is kind of annoying, especially in Trivia Murder Party. It can drag on a little bit as a result of that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You can, those games have incorporated streaming. But what's interesting to me is that for the most part, you don't need a stream. Because here's the thing. You make a game that really needs a stream to be successful, that game is not going to be successful. It's only going to sell to streamers, which is a tiny fucking demographic. You're not going to make any money on that. This is why I understand that, this is why Amazon is making games and implementing features, because they're one of the only people that have a vested interest in that. Like, it's almost like, where Oculus funds VR games because they're otherwise not popular. And people complain about that, but it's like, yeah, but if they were made on their own, they probably wouldn't break even. Mm-hmm. Sort of, you're investing in an area that you have a vested interest in.
How do you feel about a game that, to interact with the streamer, the viewer had to buy? So the game might be $20, but then, like, if you want to interact with the streamer, you buy it for $5.
There's potential there. I don't know how many people would. It depends on the level of interaction, I guess. It's an interesting model, because what it effectively does is it converts a streamer directly to an influencer who's shilling a game, which they're already trying to kind of do with Streamline, and it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere at all. Obviously, there's other games that
game makes me so motion sick, guys. Like,
I've never played it.
Is that the one where we get 30% or something, or a percentage? Or
yeah,
something
we get a percentage if we sell a copy of the fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah, we do. We do.
All of a sudden, you're not so motion sick.
Apparently makes you motion sick, so don't
very
buy that. But,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you ain't sell out.
yeah, I mean, it's not like the streamers and YouTubers haven't been influencers for a while. I'm partnered with Chrono and all that shit, to sell stuff. But it's making a game with that specifically in mind is an interesting idea, not necessarily one that will work. I'm trying to think like
what was that other game? Party Hard, was it?
Party
Where
Hard.
Pretty hard,
Oh
yeah.
god, I hated that.
That was one of the cool ones that came out that had a lot of
I like it pretty hard.
People just fucked with you, and that game was hard enough as it was, considering you had to restart the entire level if you fucked up once. So to me, that was just frustrating.
If we're gonna jump on that train, Cluster Truck.
Oh god,
Damn you, chat. God damn you all to hell is what I say.
I really did not enjoy that game.
I was
played
having
it for like
a
20 minutes and I was like, well, I'm out. I'm good forever.
And then chat came and destroyed my fun. Is what they did.
That's the thing. Like, I suppose it really depends on your community. Like, if you have a game where your chat can mess with you, from a game design perspective, that must be super hard to figure out what they can and can't do, whether there are cooldowns. Can you do the evil thing a certain amount of times in a row? Like, that must be a really challenging aspect. But I think if someone made a game that really nailed that, I think it would be extremely popular. Like,
possibly.
just Lyric playing it or Summit or whoever, you're going to have, thousands of people purchasing that game to play with that streamer almost instantaneously. A lot of games, like when they reach 30, 40,000 copies, they're like, oh, cool, we've actually starting to break even or whatever. Give Lyric a game where he can play against the people in his chat, maybe his subscribers or whatever, or just his viewers. If they nailed that physics, the integration balance correctly, I think there's an angle for a really interesting game. I think we're going to see someone's going to nail it, I think, in the next year. And
Maybe.
it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I wonder what the longevity of those games is going to end up being, because say, hey, yeah, if Lyric does it, but Lyric's a multi-game streamer and moves on to games pretty quickly, and one has to worry, like, would it keep it alive? It's got to be a good game in and of its own right. Let's say if nobody ever streamed it ever, it would still have to be a solid type. It's kind of like the VR thing, right? Where if the keep talking, nobody explodes. It's like, yeah, you could play it in VR, but you don't have to. And if it was just a VR game, that game would have sold like absolute shit. And so that's kind of, but then you've also got to make the streamer versus viewer thing make some degree of sense, like, and not just be a throwaway add-on. Like, I really felt like what Party Hard did was they threw it on top. They didn't even think about how hard it made the game, about how it was balanced. They just tossed it in there and just said, cool, you got Twitch integration now. Kind of like they did it with Tomb Raider as well. Do you even know Tomb Raider had Twitch integration? No, it does.
Which one?
The latest one. It's that shit's very throwaway. It's just like, hey, say a thing in chat and you might help or hinder the person. It's got to be a bit more than that.
They can just like bear and a barrel spawn.
Kind of. Yeah. It's something like that.
As it stands now, though, most Twitch integration exists for the sake of chat and their enjoyment of, like, we're gonna really act this guy and have fun. That's the vast majority of what Twitch integration is. There needs to be a new version of a new Twitch integration dichotomy. There needs to be something different about what it is than just, we're going to fuck with this guy. Because they always say, you can either help or hinder. No one ever is like, we're going to help him. Never does that happen.
Of course not.
Sometimes they do.
The girls are taking over. The women.
Give it to me. Give me Twitch. I want
the women
it.
have Twitch now.
All integration. Yeah, no, like if that's just the nature of Twitch chat, right?
The evil plan revealed.
Girls.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see if it is possible to develop a game that has meaningful and, like, at least in depth to some degree Twitch integration, but is also still good in its own right and can play without it just being a tack on. That's a challenge.
I wonder if games could do intelligent design. Like, how about in Warcraft you can make a guild and you sign in with your Twitch OAuth or whatever, and you can tick, like, subscribers can join, and then it passes the Twitch API once every 30 minutes to check your subscriber list, and other people that have connected their Twitch to their WoW account can auto join your guild, things like that, or parties where you just go, you click a button and say, party me with 5 of my subscribers or 5 of my viewers, click.
I love that.
That would be way more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they did a certain degree of that with CSGO and Dota 2, where if you attach your Steam account and you were watching a stream, you could get drops while watching the stream.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
But I think that's a pretty cool idea, though, just integration that's less about, oh, the game specifically accounts for you playing with your viewers in some gimmicky way. It's like, no, it's just integrated into the social functionality of the game. Some people claim Battlefield has something like that. Does it? Like, if Battlefield had the ability to set up a server and say only my subscribers could join, and actually check your Twitch account for that, that would be a very useful feature. Yeah, because passwords always get out and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I think that would be kind of great. Hell, it could automatically go live and fucking show some highlights or some shit. There's also
often the overheads as a streamer are too much. Like for example, like people say to me, "Oh, wait, can we play DayZ with you?" It's like, okay, so let's just run through how that would work. I would have to get hundreds of people onto my Discord or something, and then I've got to find a fair way of deciding who gets to play with me. And then I've got to give them the IP. But if they subscribe to be a troll, they can give the IP to their mate who's going to DDoS. There's so many complications and steps. And my admin will send you the server ID and give me your I'll add you as a friend. Oh, my friend list full. I have to remove other. There's so many barriers. And if games just embrace the Twitch API more, like imagine that.
That's it. Yeah, it's not about the Twitch people being able to mess with the guy playing. It's about the Twitch people. Fuck me, am I old?
The Twitch people.
It's about the viewers. It's about people watching you being able to actually play with you and do things with you in the game. That takes it to that next level where it's like, now I'm involved even more with the person I love to watch, more than just like, I really screwed him with that laser truck, asshole.
Yeah.
More than that. There's something way more than that. And that's the next level. That's where you take stuff to. So you're right on. I think the more games that can do that, that's how you nail it.
Like if you were playing like an MMO and you could just say like, my subscribers can fill the slot in my party, and then your tank drops, Twitch passes the API, who's a tank, you guys pick one of you randomly, pulls you in, bam. Oh, cool. One of my subscribers is a tank now. Boom. Like, that, I think that
I hope they didn't get up to grab some Doritos.
Exactly. Shit.
But you could just do the usual WoW stuff, right? Like a little ready check. Are you ready to join? If they click no, it re-rolls, whatever. You can design your way out of those holes.
Yeah.
Okay, so next year we're going to be talking about that game that had Twitch integration. I want a cut.
Wherever
you are,
we want some money.
EA.
If that shit's called Stupor, we are putting it to the ground with lawsuits. We're taking it to task.
Yeah.
This is the problem when we have categories that actually evoke discussion. We end up, discussing them. So it's people like, where are the awards gone? Oh, well. We'll do one more category before the break. This is one of mine, because I like long, awkward categories.
Great.
All right. I wanna hear from you a game that you didn't really agree with your audience on. Like, either a game that you really fucking liked and generally speaking your audience was like, I don't understand why you like this, or the other way around. It's something that the audience is like, yeah, you should play this, and you ended up playing it. It's like, no, what the fuck is this?
Oh my god.
That came out this year?
Yes.
That really narrows it down.
I can go.
Go for it. Yeah.
Mine is Mystic Messenger.
Okay.
Because,
what's that all about?
My audience is very weeb. They love their visual novels, and this one came out for phones and mimicked a messenger system and was pretty creative in that way. It was very different. But I did not wind up enjoying it as much as a lot of people did. I thought that there was just something really repetitive about it. I hated that I had to check on it so often. And if I didn't, then I would have to use the little hourglasses. And if I ran out of hourglasses, it would be like, do you want to buy more hourglasses? And I was like, fuck. And then like all of the boys were just the worst. And I was not a fan of Mystic Messenger. So sorry, everybody who was fucking obsessed with it.
I'm going to toss in Battleborn into that one.
Battleborn was on my list too.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't necessarily blame them, because especially the launch version of Battleborn was really fucking hard to watch as a viewer. Like, it was hard to play, to watch, because of how visually busy it is and how messy it was. It's really hard to communicate your enthusiasm for the game when you're just like, what's going on? Yeah. I don't understand what's going on. This is clearly not clear. This is an awful viewing experience. They're not wrong. It is. It was. I think it's better now, but yeah, it was a pretty poor viewing experience. A lot of it didn't just come down to that, though. I just have a feeling that because it was a poor viewing experience, people definitely viewed it in a much more negative way than they otherwise would have.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, I get it. It might be a bad viewing experience, but it was like, I liked a lot of things about the game. People were like, what's this Overwatch clone? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, God. It's not
No,
like Overwatch
I
is
think
much
you're right.
more watchable, but it's way more popular.
You're definitely right. I played a bit of Battleborn. There's a whole bunch of people that got influencer gigs to do it, but I just picked it up because I was in the mood to play that kind of game. And I thought some of the underlying features were really solid.
Yes,
and I was like, wait a minute, this actually has a decent chance. And I saw how much money 2K were pouring into it. You know, like 2K that Evolve, they published Evolve.
Yeah.
So they spent like $1 million per like packs carting around that 100-foot monster and all that.
Oh, God.
And then they started doing all the Battleborn stuff, and there was like these tournaments on stage, and they were pouring money into it, and they paid all these writers to have these really intricate backstories. I actually read a bunch of them, and actually pretty cool. And they had all sorts of like lore quests where you had to, this character's in the backstory, they're friends with this person, so play 10 games with them and you get the skin. They did a whole bunch of stuff that was really good. And I thought it was really innovative the way you can respec your character throughout the game to kind of counteract the opponent's builds. I thought that was really cool. And I kind of, as much as I'm not one for cartoony, less serious games, I kind of like the art direction and stuff. I thought it was a pretty solid game. But whenever I streamed it just got trashed. And I was just like, I'm quite enjoying it, other than how bad the interface is.
It was the same for us. A bunch of us played it together. And
we all pretty much enjoyed it, except for JP, that fucker. But everyone else...
How dare he have a differing opinion?
Yeah, what an asshole.
Fucked.
He's not known for having opinions, but a lot of us liked it, but it was not possible to really communicate that enjoyment with the audience, because it was too visually fucked up.
Overwhelming. It was just overwhelming, right? You're healing, you're damaging, there's just flashes and bars and numbers everywhere.
Yeah, game wrong place, wrong time with release.
They should have been released at a different time.
Avoid Overwatch like the plague. And it's like, I get it, your game's not Overwatch, but you failed to communicate that to people. You failed to get that message across. I don't even know if it was possible to get that message across at that time.
Yeah. Also, another kind of like bigger title that I would like to say is The Witness. Thought The Witness had a fuckload of hype around it, and I had so many people being like, this game is like changing my life, you know? And I went to play it and I was like, this is a bunch of fucking logic puzzles in an area that makes no sense, and I'm lost and I don't know how to get back to where I fucking give up.
You're not experiencing it on a high enough level. Though.
Yeah, you don't know what playing.
I know. But did you know that if you like stand far enough away, there are logic puzzles inside of the world? They're not just on the screens. This is some deep ass shit. I get it. Fuck.
I want to take that to I'd like to also add in I can't remember the name of his damn game, but YouTuber's Life and whatever the hell PewDiePie's game is called. Everyone in the world was like, you gotta do videos of that shit, you gotta stream that shit. I can't stand that. I can't stand those games. They're garbage games.
Well, yeah,
I really like them because I get to decorate my room.
Garbage
game's a fucking clicker. So that's not entertaining to watch.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like the one that was like, it was like, you're a Twitch simulator.
The esports like pro gamer simulator or whatever. You can't be a simulator if the stuff you're simming is not accurate. Like, if it's like, fuck it happened because it drives me crazy. I can't handle that shit. And everyone loves to watch. You couldn't make decisions. It was all random shit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Everyone loves to watch that crap where it's just like, yeah, because, you know, this is the life you guys live. Fuck you. I wish it was that insane.
This game is just like you guys, right?
Right?
I hear it's really, it's just like the For Real's life.
I'm your best friend.
Oh my god.
No. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that shit. Yeah, people were pushing.
People loved like, oh, we want to see you play that. No, I don't want to. I hate them so much.
Yeah, fuck that. That wasn't entertaining. I'm trying to think if there was something like that. there's something that I really didn't like. I think a lot of it was just like I didn't like it quite as much as you did, but it was still pretty cool. You know, stuff like Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1. They're not bad games. I just didn't find them super entertaining like other people did.
What about No Man's? What was your personal opinion when you first played it, before everyone realized the lies and all the deception and all the dodgy stuff?
Absolute it was shit.
It was
in the first hour you played it.
Total
how
shit.
How did you compare it to viewers?
The first literal minutes of playing it, I was like, this is boring as fuck. Like,
yeah.
Within minutes, I was out of the game. And this was when people were hyped about it because they didn't have it yet, because they didn't buy it for console. I was waiting for PC. Everyone I knew who had it for console was like, this game will change your fucking life. It's so good. And I got it and was ready to be blown away. And was like,
oh god,
I'm lasering a rock within seconds of playing this game. And it is boring.
If I didn't have sub-only chat on there, I imagine there'd be way more people disagreeing with me. But as a result of maybe having sub-only chat, when it first went live, I tried to stream it, and it was like, this is... Every now and again, I'll stream something that's so broken or shitty, I'll just stop streaming it. And some people's like, it's a rage quit. It's like, no, I'm not going to stream a broken thing, because that's a bad stream. The recent one for that was Space Hulk. And people got mad about that.
Oh, yeah.
And
like your game crashed and stuff, and people were blaming you.
Yeah, and it was like, dude, I can't stream a game that is hard crashing to desktop and that is running so incredibly poorly and is taking, like, 10 minutes to find a match and all this stuff. Like, what do you expect? Me to just sit there? That's a bad stream. Of course, people got mad about that, and then the game came out, and then they realized, oh, actually, I was completely right, because of course I fucking was. When am I not? And Space Hulk is shit and still has a bunch of problems. But some people go into it like they have pre-ordered a game months and months ago or whatever. They're committed to it. They've absorbed all the marketing material. They're like part of the fandom before the game even fucking comes out. They have their collector's edition on one-day order or whatever, and they then want their favorite streamer to stream it and confirm their expectations. And then when they fucking don't do that, they get very salty about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can we back up and go back to the fandom ones and have another one called Fandom I Feel the Worst For?
No Man's Sky.
It would be No Man's Sky.
I don't know if I do or I don't. Like, part of them I definitely feel bad because,
some of them are just so sad. They're just like broken now.
Yeah, it's like a childhood dream just shattered.
Yeah.
But then some of them were basically part of the unofficial PR team for that fucking game. That they spent years just talking about how amazing it was and evangelizing to everybody that would fucking listen, and they probably resulted in some people pre-ordering that piece of shit.
You know exactly what this is? Do you remember when the hype train was building for Spore to the point where Robin Williams did a whole, press conference with Spore making it was amazing. You were like, this is going to be the best fucking game that ever existed. I think everyone once in their life has to have that game where they get super hyped for it and it breaks their heart and then they can move on. Everyone needs that.
It's like a life lesson.
Yeah, we already had it. We had it with Spore. I wonder if maybe the people that were on board with NMS were not old enough when Spore fucking showed up to really remember that. Because we learned from this. I hope they learned from this. And you just, come on, don't get that on board with something you have never played and no one's actually ever played.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. And you're going to get stung for it.
If like you say, if anything, they caused their own sting, because more people hyped it, then more people hyped it, and it just became a tornado of misinformation. Did you see the video where he said so-and-so, and he didn't say so-and-so? He didn't answer the question, but because you said so-and-so, the other guy's now going to go, oh yeah, I did, and now he thinks that's fact. So then he conveys that with such reverence to his friends that they believe it, like, oh my God, you can do that, and then they tell all their work friends, is this new game right, where you can do this? And all of a sudden, like, where originally someone said, like, is there multiplayer? And he went, it's a big world. That after 5 layers of Chinese whispers, there's full multiplayer, and it's like these people made their own problem.
I have a degree of sympathy for that, but simultaneously, I mean, maybe it's just like a lack of experience from Sean Murray. But let's be honest, like him being deliberately fucking mysterious about it and vague, knowing how much attention his game was currently getting was a bad fucking idea. Just say it, or say something that is definitive. Because if you don't, then this is how this shit happens. It's a huge lesson in how not to communicate with your audience. It's how not to market your game. And despite what the fucking Advertising Standards Authority believes in the UK, I think they're fucking wrong. Stuff like interviews are part of the marketing of video games. Things that you say in interviews you should be held to some account for, especially when you don't go out of your way to then correct it. He had every time in the world to shut it down.
Didn't the boxes actually print with a multiplayer certification that they had to cover up with the sticker?
Yeah.
So it's not like he could say, well, I didn't really think... It sounds like they even tried to push it to that level, but then some regulatory body got in the way and went, there's no netcode in your game. Are you sure it's multiplayer? And they're like, oh, can we order 50,000 stickers to cover up that icon, please?
Jesus Christ.
Like, you know, you fucked up when you peel an icon, a sticker off the back of your game. It's like, oh, it says multiplayer under the sticker.
Yeah, I think that, at least with that, for the most part, I think our audience has quickly got on board with, actually, yeah, this game is fucking terrible. Although I think in many cases, it was almost like a Whiplash bandwagon effect. It's like we were on one bag and we're quickly going to jump on the other. You know, it almost became fun to hate the game, which is not constructive. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. That's the thing. When someone's so invested and then it's shattered, that emotional investment has to go somewhere.
Yeah, which is why you don't emotionally invest yourself in a game that isn't fucking out yet. Stop it.
Especially one where you literally know nothing about it. We were days out from launch and people still knew nothing about the game.
Stop it.
Nothing. On this podcast, we were just like, I still don't know what this game is.
And we got shouted at for that.
Oh, yeah.
We really did. It's like, oh, we know tons about it. Yeah, from
Apparently.
interviews. How well did that turn out for you fuckers? Jesus.
Sorry.
God damn it.
Daddy's angry. Daddy's angry.
Every now and again, you know, we get something very, very right on this show, and there's an opposition to it, and they end up fucking eating humble pie, but will never admit that they had to. It's like, you eat some fucking crow, show me the damn feathers. Assholes. Let's take a break. When we come back, a few more categories. You're watching the Co-Opties Fake Award Show. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-Opties unofficial fake-ass video game awards.
Welcome back to the Co-Opties. It's so much fun.
Co-Opties, the Co-Opties. Welcome back to the Co-Opties, the Co-Opties, the Co-Opties.
Welcome back.
I was unprepared for this joke.
I probably was as well, but after 5 years of your bullshit, I'm not actually that surprised.
What are we going to talk about next, TV? Ha-ha!
Let's talk about the best Mindfuck.
Oh, boy!
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
No, this is easy for me. This is an easy topic.
Is it icy?
It set my year.
Oh.
It set my year.
January
January 4th, 2016 was the release of Pony Island.
Mm-hmm.
It truly set my year on a collision course with insanity. And had it not been for me playing that game, I would not have played the bajillion Mindfuck games that I played this year. That's all I did. 90% of the games I streamed was like, apparently, we're in an extraterrestrial organization solving intergalactic crimes, but it's all a game. Or is it? Like, that shit, that's where I was this entire year. And it was all because of the devil in a video game.
But, like, there was definitely a point, right, where you would choose games because you knew they were going to be a mindfuck.
That's what I'm saying. It was
the island you didn't know was going to be a mindfuck.
And that's the game that got me into the whole, like, because it had been a while since I played a game where I really, truly at the end was like, holy fuck, right? Because a lot of the times, especially in story-based games, somewhere in the middle, I'm like, I've read enough books in this game to know where this is headed. Like, I did way too much lore research in the game to figure out where it was going. And this was the first time in a while Pony Island got me, where it was like, get fucked. There's not only is it this, but then when you get the one ending, by going back and playing it again, you get the other ending. It's like, this is the real ending, though. And then literally you have to hack the game files. It's a game about hacking where you hack the real game files to get the real ending. I was like, what? And then the real ending is an ending where you're just like, tricked you, bitch. Which again, when it's a game about playing against the devil. So when you're playing against the devil, you're like, oh my, like, it is next level on the. It's truly the game that set my course for the year, and it came out January 4th. It's perfect. It sums up 2016 for me, video game wise, perfectly.
Wow, I've never even heard of that.
It's
About you,
quite the
Sacriel?
thing.
Play it.
Do you have a mindfuck game? A game where you went into it thinking this will be a nice normal game for me to play that looks right up my alley, and then at a certain point it took a twist.
You know what? This is going to be a tough one for me because I'm so in my genre of like PvP multiplayer games. Like I don't really play any single player games really.
Somebody's got to make a mindfucky PvP multiplayer game.
I'm just trying to.
At some point.
Mean, DayZ's a mindfuck. Let's face it. Like it's a minefield of mindfuck. But I can't. I don't think I've really played it. I'm trying to dwell on it a bit. I guess I'll get back to you if I can think of something.
Well, I will say, if anything, those games, well, it might not be the mindfuck I'm thinking of. It definitely gives you that moment of, I just did a lot of horrible things. If I was in this situation in real life, would I have done the exact same thing? And here's what I would say. Hell yeah, a lot of people would. Like people in those in games like that, in the survival games, people shoot first, ask questions later. That is, if that was real life, people would straight up do that. They would not take chances of just like, are we friends? It'd be like, I'll shoot you and we'll find out if we're friends afterwards.
Yeah.
You'll be my friend if you got the shit I need on your body once you're dead.
Yeah.
I'll toss Icy in there, which I think is fairly obvious. I don't know if that's even so much of a mindfuck because going into it, I did know what was going to be happening. That it's like, hey, this is a subversive game. This has got an element of meta narrative to it, but it did outdo my expectations on that. Like it was not like, all right, I'm expecting the Stanley Parable, with a platformer. It went a bit beyond that, and I think that was really cool. And it tied it very nicely into what was also just a very solid game in and of its own right. So that was cool.
I'm in the same place as Jesse, where I'm always down to play games where I'm like, oh, this game looks really trippy, right? But then I also have specific types of games that look like they'll just be a nice, fun time. And a game that I very recently bought thinking, this looks like it'll be a nice, adorable game where you play a little cat girl and it's going to be great, is One Shot. And after playing a few hours of that game, I haven't finished it yet, but after playing a few hours of that game, I was like, what the fuck? It's completely different from what I thought that it was going to be. It's one of those games that like, I might be ruining this for some people just by telling them that it's a mindfucky game, but it just like messes with you in real life in ways that make you like uncomfortable.
Let's go.
Done. It's already been added to my list of things to Yeah, also another one that I don't know if you guys saw the trailer yet, but it's a game that I know Dodger and I were looking at earlier this year. Into the Woods? Is that the name of the game? Something the Woods. Night in the Woods,
right?
Yeah, that finally they actually released like more information about that game, and I was like,
when does it come out? I want to play that so bad.
I think at the beginning of next year it finally comes out. But like straight up, that game looks trippy as balls too, which is just for cute little cat and dog people. It is weird looking, which I'm very excited for. So keep those games coming. I love indie games. That's how I discovered Oxenfree, an indie game that I like treasure. Games that just get straight up nutso and don't have to worry about big corporate, like, you got to sell a bunch of copies of this game. Games that can take chances. Those are super, super fun and right up my alley. So keep it up, indies.
There's a game that I saw a trailer for. It's not out yet, so it's not really a nominee, but it was kind of super interesting. It's called Pillows Castle? Pillow Castles. What's that?
Pillow
Pillow Castles.
Yeah, and basically like it's like a puzzle game, kind of a bit like Portal, but it's all about 3D perspective. So like, say there's a door, but it's about 10 meters off the floor, and you need to get to that door. And there's no object in the room big enough for you to stand on, but you can walk up to a small object and like get really close to it, so it's really big in your eyesight. And then when you click on it, it becomes the size of your perspective, and then you can drop it. If you watch the trailer for it, it is insane. There's all sorts of weird geometric tricks where you have to use perspective to make things seem bigger or smaller, and then interact with them when they're small.
Nice.
And then they act like they're small. It's super confusing. If you just go to YouTube and search Pillow Castles, it's trippy as hell, and it looks like I think it's going to be a really fun game to stream, because it's one of those things where it's not as straightforward, find the key, unlock the door. it's going to be one of those games where you sat there going, anyone in chat? What do I do here?
Approach it from a slightly different way.
To follow.
Yeah, you should try a game called Anti-Chamber if you like the idea of that, because that's a game that sort of forces you to throw out your old logic and think about it in a different way in order to really make your way through it. That came out a few years ago. That did pretty well. So that's worth a look.
Yeah, I think I saw that. It's like quite hyper. It's like a bit psychedelic, I guess, like loads of bright colors.
Yes,
greens and
very,
blues and
very
reds.
bright colors. And color's like a big deal in that game as well. If you're colorblind, you might struggle a little bit with Anti-Chamber, but it's got some pretty cool moments in it.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Pillow Castles because it looks absolutely. They do a lot of. Not only is it just this kind of 3D perspective thing, they do a lot of illusion stuff. So you might see. I think at one point you're stood in what looks like a field, and you look around, and it's just fields for as far as you can see. But when you start to walk in any direction, you're actually just on a little field platform, and the skyline in the background is just wooden panels with it painted on, and you drop off that panel, and you're like, what the hell?
I like that.
And it just makes your perspective just snap, and you're like, oh, Jesus, that was just a trick. Like, there's loads of tricks like that. It's really cool. You should check out the trailer.
Nice. Okay, well, that's that category, unless anyone else has got anything else to add to it. So we can move on. Here's a nice, easy one. And Strippin's not here, so he doesn't get to answer Overwatch. Biggest cash vampire. I want to know. Tell me which game you've thrown the most fucking money at this year. Come on, admit it.
Jesus.
This is the confessional. I'm here to hear
The confession.
your awful confessions. I will go first if it makes you feel better.
Is it going to be Clash Royale for you?
I think so. Only based on the fact that Galaxy of Heroes also was last year as well. So some of the expense has been spread out. Yeah, the amount that I've spent on Clash Royale is embarrassingly high, and I'm pretty sure it is close to 1,000 if it's not already there. And it's like, oh,
damn.
Jesus Christ. Let's put it this way. They've made the business model better, but I'm not sure they could have necessarily made it any worse in the first place. Hearthstone has been out for a couple of years and has definitely spread over the course, but yeah, I spent a shitload of money on Clash Royale. I like that game a lot. It's got a lot fairer, and arguably it was relatively fair in the first place because you were matching against people of fairly equivalent level, and now they have a tournament system where everyone's kind of at the same level anyway. But the way that it was set up was pretty ridiculous. It was so reliant on randomness, just like opening a bunch of fucking chests, and there was no other way to acquire certain cards because there was no like crafting system or anything. You can a lot of these other games like Hearthstone, which again you can be a whale in that as well, are big games where you have another way of getting that specific card that you need for your deck. You can just craft it or whatever. But Clash never had a way of doing that. So you could literally be sitting there like, I want this card in my deck and I can't get it. And there's no other way to get it other than keep fucking emptying and opening shit until I do. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, those who played Magic the Gathering are probably like $1,000. That's a joke. That's nothing. But yeah, I dumped a lot into it. I still like it. I think it's a great game. And I get, as weird as it sounds, like how can it not be pay to win if you've spent like 1,000 on it? Because you're not getting matched up against those guys that have much stronger shit than you are. The whole point of the matchmaking system is it matches you up with people who have similar stuff to you. So in reality, when you're buying ahead levels and levels and levels, all you're really doing is putting yourself against better players. So it doesn't really help that much.
I almost had a moment of like, I don't know. But then I realized it's very easy. And I will simply say Overwatch Summer Games.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because you couldn't get it with the in-game currency. You had to either play a bunch or buy them. And because I was determined to get every single one of those damn skins, and then I realized that there were special, like, in-game emotes and shit, I was like, oh, no. Definitely that was it for me. I think I bought 99 and then before it ended bought another 99 because I
Whoa! Shitload.
How much?
You and Sam.
Yeah.
How much?
So I ended up $50-$60 a piece for 99, I think. I think
it's $50 for 99.
But yeah, when it first came out, I was like, I'm gonna buy it because I don't know how much I'm gonna end up playing. And then I tried to play my way through it to get the crates, and then realized like, oh shit, I don't have them all. and then ended up buying another 99. I didn't need it, but 99 just in case I didn't get them all. Spoiler, still didn't get everything. So yeah, that it still bugs me to this day. I had a ton of currency, so when the Halloween stuff came out, I could get every single thing though.
Yeah.
Same with Sam.
It was perfect for me. But
At least they learned from that, you know? It's...
Oh, I learned.
It doesn't matter so much because it's all cosmetic, but the way that they set that Summer Games thing up, they rapidly realized that people did not like the way that they'd done that. It's like you need you've got to have some reliable way of getting things. One of the worst things that's still about Galaxy of Heroes, which is still bad in many ways, is there's certain characters that are so pretty much impossible to get. Like, I wanted General Grievous for my team because General Grievous is awesome. He's actually like D tier shit bad character, but I wanted him in my droid team. And it's like there's two ways to get him. Either you can randomly pull him from a pack. Packs are fucking expensive. There's no reliable way to earn enough premium currency to buy those packs at all. So you got to spend a bunch of money, and it's random as fuck. So there's no guarantee you'll ever get him. And even if you do draw him, you might draw only a bit of him. You might draw shards of him instead of...
I can't figure out why you play
I don't know, man.
I just can't figure it out.
I don't know. The other way of getting is the shard shop, which they eventually put in for like, oh, you have spare shards, as in you've maxed out a character and you drew more shards from like a free pack or whatever. So we give you a shitty conversion rate to buy that. And I went into it like, oh, you can buy 5 shards for Grievous. Oh, you need 80 to activate him, by the way, for like 1,400 parts of shards, which is like hundreds of character shards. It's ridiculous.
What?
It's a similar situation with fucking I can't remember the name of it. The Scimitar, Maul's spaceship, because they've got a space game in there now as well. And I wanted the Scimitar, and like, nah, there's no reliable way to earn it. There's like no reliable way. You've got to get it fucking randomly. There's like maybe 1 or 2 people in the game that had the fucking TIE X1 because of that. There was a little event where you could earn shards for it, but only like the top couple of people actually got it. It's like, fuck this. I'm still playing it every day. Once you're in that deep, you just keep swimming.
Yeah. I recently had a bit of a run-in with the crates in Battlefield 1. So I'm a big skin freak. I always have been. I like the aesthetics of everything. So I bought like 100 crates or something. Don't tell Shannon. Like,
oh, please.
$200 or something stupid. And I opened them on stream, and oh my God, it was like shitty pistol skin, next crate, shitty pistol skin, same one, next crate, next same skin, next crate, next skin. I'm like, that's $10. And what they do now is they've got like revisions. So you got like box revision 1, box revision 2. So they're releasing new skins, and they just released a box revision 3, which has got a new skin for the main weapon that I use. Like, now I've got like 5,000 kills with it, whatever. So I'm like, right,
I want this.
Here's the killer. You can only buy the lowest tier boxes, the lowest tier crates. So I bought like 20 low tier crates, opened them all, like not even looking at the skins. I was just like, open, sell, or scrap. You can basically scrap, right?
Yes.
So
you can eventually build up enough currency for a specific skin, but it takes a long ass fucking time. It's worse than Overwatch.
20 boxes, and I scrapped them all, and that gives me enough in-game currency to open the legendary box, which only has 3 skins in it, and one of those skins
is the one you want.
So I open it, and I get the shitty pistol legendary skin. I'm like, fine, buy another 20 boxes, scrap it all, open it, same shitty pistol, buy another 20 boxes, open it, and each box opening is like 20 seconds because of all the animations. Third time in a row, same pistol, closed it, went and played Daisy. I literally spent like $60 to get one skin. I had a 33% chance each time. And I got the same pistol like 3 times in a row. I was like, forget it. At
least in CSGO, you can sell them. It's rough, but the worst thing about Battlefield 1 is it's got a couple of like really nice weapon skins, and then the vast majority of them are useless shit. It's even worse than Overwatch, because like
the default skins.
I'm not going to use the majority of these weapons, not to mention the majority of these skins for these weapons. There's one skin I've got, which I think is a legendary skin for the Automatico, and I use that because it's a gun I use, and everything else I'm like, no.
Is that like the ivory and gold one?
Yes. It's like that's nice, and they put like a decent amount of effort into that, but holy fuck, like the vast majority of skins for that game are awful. Like, they're just not good. So I can't imagine many people buy those boxes, and I think you're silly if you do buy too many of those boxes, or any of them, really. We're silly. We get that. We're silly.
We are silly. We admit it, chat.
Yeah.
First step to fixing it is acceptance.
Admit your problem. Admit your problem.
We aren't gonna fix shit. What are you talking about?
Dodger.
Yeah.
Dodger. It's not. You're not allowed to use Strippin's example. You can't use Overwatch unless you've been pulling the same shit, which you might have.
It took me a while. I was like, man, I don't really tend to spend a lot of money on any games. But when I was super into Pokemon Go, I bought a decent amount of shit. I don't know how much money I spent, but I bought like lots of Pokeballs, lots of stuff.
Shannon was the same. And the thing is, Shannon was like buying all this stuff. And she was like, oh, I need these Pokeballs to catch this thing. And I need this lore and I need this. And I was like, how many of them have you got? She's like, 10. I'm like, how much are they each? And I started to count it. I was like, you spent like $200 this week on it. And she's like, what? When you buy it bit by bit, you're like, oh, 10 more Pokeballs and a couple more lures. Oh, I need 10 more Pokeballs. Like the little transactions. You really don't quite, because you get them and then you get to use them and you're gratified immediately and then you don't get what you want, so you get more. It kind of like misdirects you away from the fact that you just spent money. So when I actually showed Shannon like the bill, like I was like, look on the, I'll show you the online statement or something. She's like, what am I doing? She actually had like an epiphany, like, what have I done?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they call them microtransactions. They try and dribble money out of you over time so you don't realize how much you've spent. Although these days, a lot of them have just got to the point where this is not micro at all. You're selling me currency in fucking $30, $40 blocks or whatever. I'm just happy that Plants vs. Zombies Heroes hasn't done me in too badly because I'm really into that game, but I think I only spent about 60 on it, and that's like a mobile game. You spent 60? Yeah, but the amount of time and enjoyment I've got out of that is more than I would have a regular PC game. I'm totally happy with that, and I got pretty much most of the cards I want, and then I can kind of earn the rest, although they're pulling some stuff right now where it's like, oh, this specific card is only going to be available during an event, and there's this way to acquire. It's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Thankfully, none of those cards have been super good yet. The fucking, there was a zombie turkey rider for Thanksgiving that's like, this is not a very good competitive card. But there's definitely danger there. Right now, it's for a CCG anyway, it's pretty fair, and they do have the crafting system and shit, and other ways to earn premium currency, but there's a definite risk that it will go into not so pretty territory.
It's weird, like the games nowadays almost don't care too much about their opening day revenue because they can just wedge in this like, because what they often do is to say, hey, want this new skin? You can totally get it for free. All you have to do is do 100 games this week. 99, and get 99% is going to be in the top 1%. And then of those top 1% people, we will check. All of a sudden, there's all these hoops you have to go through. Or buy these tokens for $50 and you're like, oh, tokens. And like, because a lot of people are so busy nowadays, you can't just sit there and do your 100 games that week and do your dailies and all this crap.
Time is money, friend. For a lot of people, they're appealing to what are now an older audience that usually, have jobs and families, etc. So yeah, the money is less valuable than the time. For us in particular, it absolutely is.
Oh yeah,
and absolutely. A lot of these games are running off like, especially the mobile ones. They're not. The vast majority of players are costing them money, not making them money. And it's the small majority of whales that are keeping the game running for everybody else. It's like small number of whales subsidize the game for everybody else, which is a more common system than you might think in life. But I don't know how sustainable that is. And I think we're definitely finding that out, that's going to eventually not work anymore. People are going to get a bit tired of it. But when you have a small community in particular, it's like, yeah, better monetize the people who are still here. Get as much money out of them as possible. Get money out of the hardcore fans. Stings, but it is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really factor in what it really costs to run a game. Like there was a game.
Oh sure.
What was it? There was a game that shut down recently. What was it? It was like a 5v5 vampires versus humans hunter game.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, Nosgoth.
Nosgoth.
And that was a good game too.
They had to shut down. But if you're spending 10 grand a month on servers and you get 0 sales a month, and it's just like, okay, we're just spending 100 grand a year now.
God, like, that was sad.
Yeah.
You have to draw a line somewhere. It was actually a pretty good game.
It was a good game, actually. It really was.
I had a lot of fun watching people play that.
Yeah.
I never actually played it myself, but
one of the better, if not one of the best, games that have tried to clone the versus mode in Left 4 Dead. Probably, arguably better in many ways. It was actually really good. That was a stinger. That one shut down. All right, let's move on. We got time for a couple more categories since we started a bit late. Let's go with something perhaps a little bit more positive here. Best game we didn't see coming. So this is one that crept up on us, and we ended up really enjoying more than we expected that we would. I'll throw it right out there. One nomination, Doom, definitely. Went in because and people remember exactly how I was. I went in a few hours before it officially came out, and I went on stream with it, and I started off ready to hate it. I'd played the multiplayer beta, not a fan. Not a fan of it. And I went into the single player thing. We've seen basically nothing of this. And we don't know what it's like. There's been a lot of complaining before it came out. People didn't like the aesthetic. They said everything was covered in piss. It's like everything's too yellow. This is gonna end up being a Halo-like shit or whatever. And it was fucking joyous from the very beginning. Like within the first few seconds, I was having fun, and it kept me there. And that was one of those really cool moments that I rarely get on stream, where like I went in not knowing anything, not really expecting much, and then just got fucking whisked away. And I think the passion for it, the enthusiasm for it was really obvious. It came through on the stream, and people really were hyped about that as well. And that's pretty rare, you know. So Doom, yeah, throw that in there.
A game that I didn't see coming that wound up being a complete delight was Abzu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That came out more.
Yeah, I thought that game was going to be just like swim around and meet all the fish, like a nice chill game, and it wound up having like it was basically Journey underwater. It had a great story, and I wound up really loving it. Like got a little weepy at the end. Like I really, really liked it.
Yeah, it's a nice one. Jesse,
I'm trying to think if there was a game that I didn't like know what to expect. I might want to say Super Hot. It was a game that I wasn't sure what to expect going in, but it like came at me and I was like, oh shit, this game is super interesting. But
man, I wish I could have gone into Super Hot not knowing. Because, there was so much, like, early alpha footage and sort of hype behind that game before it came out that I felt like I knew what I was getting into. And it was good.
It wasn't on my radar when I played it.
I'm glad it wasn't. I think you probably had a lot more fun with it as a result.
Yeah, I don't... Man. Yeah, because this was also the year of me being like, oh, a weird game, I'm in. There was a lot of times where I knew what I was going into was going to be strange. So I expected it to be weird. Rather than, oh, this is a normal game. Oh my God, it's so special and different. I went looking for those this year. So it's hard for me to be like what I didn't see coming, but I think Super Hot might be the answer to that.
Sure, that's fair. I'd also throw Watch Dogs 2 into that arena because I had no enthusiasm for that at all. And
I'm not surprised. Didn't the first one just train wreck?
Pretty much. Like, it wasn't a terrible game, but that was it was guilty of two things. One, misrepresentation on the E3 stage, and two, like, a metric ton of hype. So that ended up being surprising in terms of it was just better than I expected. Like, and I'm not big in open world games, but I've had more fun with it so far than I thought I would.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the radar for being like that. Was maybe this was last year, but maybe it was close enough not to. Tokyo Mirage Sessions on Wii U.
Wow.
That may have been towards the end of last year. Let me put it this way. Like, it's a fucking JRPG based around pop idols in Japan.
I think it counts for this year. It's December 26th, 2015.
That's close enough. That's after all the Game of the Year awards.
Yeah.
That's close enough. That's basically next financial year. I mean, come on. That's not me in any way. But that game's basically Persona, and it's got, the kind of character development, the way the characters interact with each other is very much like that. The way that it uses the gamepad is pretty innovative. The battle system is really flashy. It looks awesome. It's got some really good synergy and some fairly in-depth mechanics. So that was a surprise. That caught me off guard, especially considering that was basically called, they used to be called Persona Cross Fire Emblem. And then they named it Tokyo Mirage Sessions and said it's set in around fucking Japanese idol culture. I'm like, you fucking what? But no, I actually did dig that quite a bit.
What about that Planet Coaster? Like, it's not my cup of tea, but I never...
So fun.
Did you guys see that coming, or was that like, oh, we're waiting for that to come out?
it was mostly because Dan Nerdcubed wouldn't shut the fuck up about it that we kind of
Dan
did
came
see
on
it.
and talked about it for like an hour, and I was like, I guess I gotta play this game.
Okay. So for me, like, nothing really surprised. Like again, I kind of have a very particular set of games that I try and play, and they're almost exclusively multiplayer, so they're hard to surprise me. One game that is not out, but it's going to be out Q1 2017, and I played the first time this year, was For Honor.
Ah, yes.
I thought, it's just going to be a bit like Chivalry. I was playing like 20 hours a day every day during the alpha. I'd like play for 20 hours, sleep for 4 hours, play for 20 hours, like couldn't stop playing. And then they flew me out to Paris a few weeks ago, and we played the newest build. And then there's just a beta that just finished now, which is under NDA, so we can't talk about. But like, I can't get enough. Like, there's something just so perfectly balanced about it. Like, graphically beautiful. Like,
I enjoy what I played of it.
The art direction's beautiful. The gameplay's really tight. Like, it's one of those kind of fairly easy to learn, but very hard to master. Like, I've already sunk like 50 hours into one of the characters, and I still don't feel like I fully know all the nuances. So For Honor, for me, definitely, especially as a first-person shooter guy, right? I'm all about, military strategy that, from a firearm perspective, or conventional warfare perspective. So to play that, I was always a big fan of Chivalry, but it didn't quite get the balance right. Whereas this, just something so perfectly balanced across the board. I really thought For Honor just nailed it.
It's very different to Chivalry as well. And I think, like, you're right, it does have a higher skill ceiling than initially appears. There's a lot to learn from it, and it does appear like it's kind of that it's almost like a fighting game in many ways, in that there's a lot at the high level for how the attack system works, and there's a lot of interesting little niggles about it that I like, that are gonna hopefully encourage people to play it at a really cool high level, and actually like be a good amount of skill that you can discover within that, and complexity within complexity.
Absolutely. And with the new characters, like the alpha that we're allowed to talk about had introduced the first 2 characters of each class, and they're the easy and medium rated characters. And there are 2 more characters for each class, so 6 more, and they're the like hard and very hard.
Can I finally play as Fat Samurai? That's all I need to know.
There you go.
That fat Asian dude with the club is all I need in my life.
Okay, Shugoki is one of his, they got like the elimination animations where you like cut the head off and stuff. One of his animations, he literally grabs their head and then belly butts them and breaks their neck.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he's just so straight up gangster.
Greatest warrior there ever was.
Perfect.
He's actually really fun to play. But yeah, like For Honor was totally out there for me. Like, I thought, I'll give it a blast. I like Chivalry. And within like an hour, I was just like, I cannot stop. And I went full weeb, like 10th tier weeb. I had Naruto battle music on loop, YouTube playlist. I had Naruto like clan. I made it in a little emblem animator. I made like the Uchiha clan tag on my back. So
yes. Oh my god.
Oh my god. It was so nerdy. Oh my god. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Love it.
I then
anyone else got something that they didn't see that they were coming, that they really kind of dug? Because I mean, I'd probably, if I had played it yet, which I still haven't got around to, I have a feeling I will like it. Let It Die is probably going to be on that list, but I just haven't had a chance to really dig into it yet. I know Strips liked it a lot.
One other game that I played that really surprised me was there's a new MOBA called MXM.
Oh, MXM. We've all played that, yeah.
Super
Full disclosure,
cool. Like,
we're all friends with one of the staff members, Maggie, so we're a bit biased on that.
But I went into it thinking, okay, another MOBA, fair enough. Like, everyone wants to get big in this industry, but no one really innovates too much. And then like playing 2 characters that you can alternate at any time with different cooldowns and all the mechanics and the way you upgrade the weapons, and I thought it was super interesting. Like I finished I did an influencer thing for Maggie, and then I finished it, stopped my stream, and then just played it for like another 8 hours straight. I was just like, okay,
it wasn't too bad.
It was great.
It has that weird PvE mode and dungeons and stuff in it. Like, it's very Asian, but it had some decent innovation in it.
Game, right? Where you can do a bit of PvE, bit of PvP, or whatever.
Yeah. That wasn't too shabby.
I thought it was refreshing for MOBA.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Anyone else got anything for that? Are we good? Shall we move on to biggest disappointment?
Holy shit.
We'll do this and please stop, and then we'll.
We already did No Man's Sky.
And then we'll wrap. Well, I mean, it may turn up again, but yeah, we'll do 2 more categories and then we'll wrap up today's show since we started a little bit late. Biggest disappointment. I feel like we've already talked a lot about No Man's Sky. To me, that wasn't even the biggest disappointment because I wasn't expecting.
Not for me
it to be
either.
good.
I didn't think that game was going to be good anyway. Really.
No, and this is not us being ha ha. We told you so. No, we said this like 2 years ago on this very show, and you yelled at us for it. So no, we weren't expecting much out of it in the first place because it was going to be a whole I'm going to run around mining shit game, which is never enjoyable.
For me it was just looking at what the game wanted to be. It didn't seem like the sort of game that I would get into, even if it turned out fantastic. It didn't seem like the sort of game I was going to enjoy. So I was never really excited for it.
Yeah. But there are other games that were certainly letdowns.
Titanfall 2.
You think?
Like I heard a lot of industry buzz from people like in the know that were like, oh, they learned their lesson from Titanfall 1 and they're going to make the multiplayer a lot more dynamic and a lot more interesting and there'll be different progression that doesn't burn out after 8 hours and da-da-da-da-da. And I played it for like 20 hours and I kind of felt burnt out and I not all the characters or the kind of combat got a bit stale. So yeah, Titanfall 2 felt like it could have, I don't know, the impression I personally got from all the people in the know, as it were, was like it's going to be totally revolutionary and they've really figured it out. But
yeah,
I thought it was a bit of a flop.
I mean, I agree on some level to that, simply because, and it was probably down to just how people were speaking about it, that they were acting like Titanfall 1 didn't happen. Like, no, it did, and it was quite similar to this. Titanfall 2's multiplayer is better, but its map design is a lot worse. And the map design, to me, is what drove a lot of the problems with Titanfall 2's multiplayer compared to Titanfall 1. And you see, as soon as they brought fucking Angel City back in as a playlist for Titanfall 2, suddenly the game's a lot better because the map design there was a fuckload better. And as a result, it doesn't become a giant Titan fuck. You don't end up just getting completely murdered in the middle. You've got a bit more leeway as to where you go. The progression is better, but that's only because the progression in the first one was lackluster, I think. You know, it didn't take long to really get anywhere. But I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing. But yeah, I stopped playing it as well. And also, I don't believe the campaign was anywhere near as good as people fucking claimed. So, it's a good game. It's solid enough, but it is a very iterative sequel.
Yeah.
The first one did exist. You don't get to fucking ignore that. You don't get to say, oh, what an amazing, innovative game. No! The first one existed! It only came out like 1 or 2 years ago. Come on!
Yeah.
I'd throw in Shadow Warrior 2. That was a big one for me. The first one, great. What I played at shows, which was a fairly limited look at it, felt pretty good, but I saw the potential for problems with it because of the whole, we're going to focus a lot on loot, we're going to focus a lot on these more open areas, these more open levels with side quests and stuff. And that wasn't what I wanted out of the original Shadowfall, and that's not what Shadow Warrior. That's not what the original Shadow Warrior was either. It was just a, straight up kind of linear shooter, and it was pretty good at it. Bit spongy, but pretty good at it. Mm-hmm. But this one, the loot sucked. Really did. There was too much downtime, too much backtracking, too much fucking around. And as opposed to being a more focused, well-designed, handcrafted game, it felt like 10% of it was handcrafted and the rest of it was just thrown together random bullshit. Just big arena areas full of monsters that just wandered around or just hung around until you showed up and then they fought you, and it ended up being a real letdown for me. It wasn't the direction I wanted it to go.
I wonder if they tried to capture that Doom style when they saw... what came out first, Doom or Shadow Warrior?
Doom did. Shadow Warrior 2 was in development for quite some time, though. I'd played it before Doom even came out. I think that it was more they wanted to go down the looter-shooter route, and they thought that was the game du jour right now, and they're kind of right, and it sold pretty well as a result. People did want that. There aren't that many good games in that genre, but to me, I don't like the loot shooter genre. I think it's a shit genre for the most part, and I think it really ruined what otherwise could have been a fucking awesome game. That was a letdown. And I'll also throw Space Hulk in there, very recent.
Oh, God, yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
That license. How can you fuck up a Warhammer license? Especially Space Hulk.
You can.
Quite frequently, unfortunately. I was suspicious about it for a couple of reasons. One, we'd only seen very edited trailers that basically had no gameplay in it. Mm-hmm. And secondly, they had repeatedly not given us any sort of review or preview access. Like, they weren't keen to show the game off to anybody. That's always a red flag. Like, when I went to a show, they wouldn't have the game there. Like, the publisher wouldn't have it. It's like, wait, that's one of your bigger upcoming titles. You don't have it at PAX? Or you don't have it at E3? It's like, no. We don't have a press alpha or press preview build? No. I was like, uh-oh. And yeah, then when we played the beta, it was a fucking mess. And it still is now. I'm going to be 100% clear about that. The biggest problem with it is it runs like shit. My brand new lovely PC that runs everything really, really well. Regardless of what I do at the fucking options, in fights it drops to like 25 FPS.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I do.
It's not really got that much going on. Like, you're in a fairly confined...
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, Far Cry where you can see a million miles and...
Yeah.
You know.
There's some nice environments in it. You know, it's a very 40K stuff. They use the Unreal 4 engine to a good effect, and there's some good lighting in it, but no, I mean, there aren't that many things. There's not even that many gene stealers on the screen at any given time. It runs like fucking arse. As soon as a fight starts, that's it. Your frame rate tanks. I was trying to identify, oh god, why does it feel so bad in combat? And then I realized, oh, it's because it's at 23 frames per second. Like, I halved the resolution. I put it down like fucking not 1600p, like it was like 1680 by 1050 on high. It was still doing the same thing. It didn't matter what settings I did. I cut it down to 50% rendering resolution. Same shit. Runs like shit.
Sounds like a core optimization problem. Like,
it sounds like a major problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was huge disappointment. I mean, not to mention the fact it's just not that enjoyable a game. The single player is tacked on. The multiplayer is just a fairly boring horde. Yeah. It's supposed to be a co-op sort of horde, Left 4 Dead kind of game, but
they dropped the ball there. Imagine playing Space Hulk like 4v4 where you spawn as submarines, Terminators, whatever, on one side of the ship. You have to get to the other side. There's a whole bunch of AI, but then the other team can spawn in as specialized.
Yeah, you can just pull Left 4 Dead 2 versus mode on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and just,
originally Space Hulk was a versus game
interesting.
anyway, the original tabletop. Yeah, so that was a letdown. Who else has got anything on letdowns?
I got one.
All right.
Yeah.
I got one for you. Mighty number 9.
It's a big one.
I don't even need to say anything about it. Everyone knows it was a letdown for every single reason that exists under the sun. That game was a letdown, and it shouldn't have been. They literally just had to make Mega Man. And they fucked that up. All we wanted was Mega Man again. That's all we fucking wanted, and they screwed it up. How's that possible? Ugh. So frustrating.
Did you back that one?
No, I haven't backed
Me neither.
any games on Kickstarter in years.
I have neither. Not video games. I'll back board games, but not video games.
Yeah. If the game comes out and it's good,
Right.
I will back you with my money then. In fact, I'll buy collectors. I'll buy all the fun shit you got going with it. If it's good. But I think I'm done with like maybe I'll buy pre-orders, but maybe I won't buy games that are just an idea in someone's head. Is what I won't do.
Actually, that was wrong. I did back one thing. I backed BattleTech because I wanted the jacket. And I got the jacket, and the jacket's good. And my cat's sleeping on it right now.
But see, you didn't back it for the reasons
No,
of
I didn't. I backed it for the fucking jacket.
Cool. Yeah.
And I got it. They got my jacket. It was great. So, fulfilled. If the game's a piece of shit, it doesn't matter because I bought a jacket with a free game.
Right.
That was good.
Seems legit.
Mine would be Pokemon Go.
Really?
I think Niantic really squandered a lot of potential with that game. They just put out their holiday update, and it was like okay, but I think just the way that the companies, like we were talking about before with No Man's Sky, the companies that just refuse to be straight up with people about what's going on, it gets so frustrating that people just leave. And I know people that still play it, but like I got so frustrated with the way that they were handling that game that.
Do you think it was better when it first came out and they just like they were trying to respond to everyone's feedback and they ended up like shitting on the game?
No, because when it came out, the servers didn't even work, man. But
apart
like
from technical issues, I mean game design stuff. Like didn't they change a bunch of rules, like how far you had to be moving a certain distance and the way?
Like in order to hatch eggs, you have to walk. You can't hatch eggs on a bike anymore. You know, just like little things like that just make the game more tedious. They made it so that, all people were, yes, Jesse.
No, I'm sorry. I'll wait for you to finish.
I was gonna say people were like coming up with UI changes that they could make and creating mods to help the experience of the game, and they started changing stuff about the base game that made all of the mods just not work anymore. And
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they were very aggressive about knocking out third-party applications and things like that.
Weren't they exploiting that to use GPS cheats and stuff?
Yeah, some were, but there were also some very useful things, and they basically just went with a whole slash and burn. We're just going to eliminate everything thing.
Okay.
It bums me out because I know that Jesse's going to be like, Coxtradamus, I said that people weren't going to be playing this game. Like, if they had just fucking supported it the way that they said they were going to and treated us like we weren't idiots, we might still be playing it. That's all.
Coxtradamus does not need to brag unless it's on Twitter, guys. Don't. No, I had a realization because I was like, did I actually sponsor things this year on Kickstarter? I went and looked. Secret Hitler. 4 things this year. 4 things. Secret Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
A pen from Game Tease that I really, really wanted. This bad boy right here. This is fine, guys.
Oh my god, amazing.
This is fine.
This is fine, dog.
Since 2013 was the last time I did anything on Kickstarter video game wise, but they got me. I dropped a few euros or pounds or whatever I put on for Monster Prom.
Monster Prom, I knew it. Yeah, me too.
I put money down for Monster Prom. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. They got me. Since 2013, the first thing I put money on, Monster Prom. You know why? Because I want them to make an art print of all of us having played the game as our characters. I know. And they're like, we'll talk about it. I was like, take my money. That's all you have to do to get my money is just make a picture of me hitting on sexy ghost girls, and you got yourself fucking cash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Al's getting disappointments to throw in before we move to our final category for the day.
I'm excited for this final category, so I kind of just...
What is it? Please stop.
Which one is it?
Please stop. So this can cover either franchises that you feel have run their course and need to take a fairly drastic change in direction, or it can cover industry practices that are getting on your nerves, things that are like, oh god, I'm sick of this has been an awful trend in 2016, we need to change this. Pretty open category. Yes, Dodger.
I have mine.
What you got?
Please stop making Five Nights at Freddy's games.
That's the realest shit that ever was.
Please stop.
Why? Why though? So many people seem to like them.
No, they don't. No. All right. I want to direct everyone to the Scary Game Squad episode where we played through Five Nights at Freddy's and literally tore the game apart. We had an epiphany. The game subsists off of the backs of maybe 3 or 4 really big YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone buys this fucking game anymore. I think they watch people play it. It blows my mind that there's people. Here's what it is. People see a MatPat game theory video, Markiplier just beat it video, and then what happens is it trickles down to other people seeing that those two, like all these big guys, are playing it and getting tons of views because people want to watch them do it. So the only people who buy it anymore are people who think I'm going to stream it and then get a bunch of views because of it.
Yeah, it hasn't sold as well as perhaps people think.
I cannot find just the normal everyday person anymore who's like, I love it. I buy every single one.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't, because it is a shit game. A shit game.
Yeah, I mean, it's been dropping pretty heavily in sales per episode. You might think that for a game that's so saturated on YouTube and Twitch that it would have sold way more than that. I mean, the original sold 850,000 copies, which is a lot for an indie game. But it's dropped down every time. Like, number 2, 473,000. Number 3, 332. 286 for 4. Sister Location, which is the latest one, at 189. That's still a good amount of money for that one guy, no doubt about it. But you'd think, with the amount of presence, that this is selling millions upon millions upon millions, and it's a huge deal. I mean, it has fucking toys in Hot Topic and shit like that. No, actually, it's not selling anywhere near as much as you think it is. All right, I've got one. Telltale, please stop.
It
You
never
have
will.
made
It never will.
Really?
the same game for 5 years now. And okay, it's a formula that's almost infinitely replaceable. And you can keep doing it, and you'll probably still do pretty well with it. Fine. But there is real room there for changing up the experience and actually, one, getting a new engine that doesn't look like absolute shit, and two, just adding some more interesting game mechanics to it, rather than just taking the same, so not so much like visual novel formula, but like choose your own adventure formula and just throwing a different theme on it. They're okay, but you could do a lot more with them if you spend a little bit more time. Like, it's almost like they're making too many franchises at once, so they can't really spend a huge amount of time on any of them. And yeah, they're still making money. Fine. You know, it is making money is not a justification for stop doing this. Like, that's not the ultimate counter argument.
I do still enjoy all of those games.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm totally down for them to change it up.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for what they might change?
I mean, one, get a better engine, because your games don't look really like hot shit anymore. It's hard to do.
They never did, really, did they?
No, they never did. But they've got worse. Like, it's hard, in my opinion, to do like a very narratively focused game when you have real poor quality animations. Like, we're really character focused and all that shit. It's like, yeah, but your character moves like a fucking set of cardboard boxes strapped together with elastic bands. That isn't really immersing me in the narrative there, mate, especially not when you're speaking what you are. The lip sync's not very good. They could do a lot more with just, instead of having QTE-based combat, they could maybe add a system in there. They could do a little bit more with the dialogue. And it seems more like they have never really made, at least past the first episode, a big choice that has truly made it a huge difference to the narrative. Like, I know it's hard to do that if you're too divergent, you're making a lot of content for like players that not every player gets to see it. But frankly, that's a good thing. And I always see episode 1 and think, wow, that ending was really great. It changed nothing, later on. And it got to the point where I stopped even playing past episode 1 because I knew that would fucking happen. They're making small changes, iterations here and there, but this is from the same company that did Sam and Max, which was like a full-on point and click. And they did like Secret of Monkey Island. They're capable of doing a bit more than that. Maybe they just need a little bit more point and click in there again.
Yeah.
I suppose the worry would be, if it's still selling like hot shit, do you really want to change the product?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's fine. But that doesn't mean I can't be sick of it. And they probably will still keep doing that, because if they do keep selling like hot shit, although I don't know if they are. Batman the Telltale series is not selling all that well relative to that. Came out in August, and it's shifted less than 100,000 on PC.
It's good,
really?
too.
Surprising.
Like, I think.
People may be getting a little tired of it. You
I think maybe they're spreading it a bit thin, because they probably have like a kind of a set team. And when they take on a new franchise, they kind of fit that into the team. Like, you guys do the Batman animations, and then once you're done,
they're probably pushing it too much.
Thrones, and then so really, there's no real character. Like you say, some like the animations are getting a bit weaker, and the narratives are getting a bit weaker. It may just be that it makes business sense to just be like, can we just force out another license? Yeah, let's go. As opposed to, right, let's get 5 new writers, 5 new animators, 5 new artists, 5 new sound guys. So that might be where they're slipping up. Maybe they're not putting that original heart and soul that they used to in the first titles, when it was an entire team working on one narrative. Everyone knew all the twists. And now they're just kind of cranking out like, okay, write a quick script for Game of Thrones. Okay. Have you got an animation from another game where someone's fighting? Yeah, use this one. And they're cutting corners here and there to crank them out.
And another thing, while we're on the please stop thing, trends-wise, which is kind of related, episodic games. Can we just stop with that?
There have been a lot of those.
Yeah, like Hitman. There's like
some have turned out well, but we also saw shit like Blues and Bullets, which started off pretty promising and ended up only getting to episode 2 before the company shut down. So it's a business model that is reliant on people continually buying each episode. Otherwise, you will never finish the game properly, which
I think also
is anti-consumer in my eyes.
It's an option for companies that have a big idea but don't have a lot of money to create the game. So I kind of like it from that perspective. Like, the idea of a small team without a whole lot of money being able to say, okay, well, we'll make the first episode and just see how it does, instead of pouring like every cent we have into a game that's not going to be what we want it to be. You know, I think episodic games in general have given people some like breathing room, but it's also given people excuses. So I understand.
It's a similar issue like early access. Like you can do early access well, and then sometimes you can do early access fucking terribly, and it's going to run both gamuts. So yeah, it can be helpful for small teams, but sometimes it's not. You know, again, Blues and Bullets team fucking shut down, and there was no need for IO to do it with Hitman, even though Hitman turned out pretty damn good by the end of it. You know, there was no need for that. They could have just released a complete game, and they probably would have done a lot better. You know, you don't need to do that as a AAA company, although at least with a AAA company, you probably know they're actually going to finish the thing.
Yeah. Especially with a big franchise like Hitman.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to get the episodes out here.
Yeah. So maybe they're an example of people that did the episodic thing correctly, because they really nailed it, from what I gather.
From what I'm told, yes. I kind of avoided playing it as a result.
I just feel like I wouldn't ever want to play a game where you play for like 8 hours and then you're like, okay,
you have to stop. You're forced
for another
to
8
stop.
hours.
Yeah, that's
like,
a bit of a problem.
Jesse,
you're grinning over there. What's
my please stop is going to be super controversial to the point where I'm going to have an elf do it for me.
Okay.
Please stop making video game movies.
Okay. I don't think that's going to be that controversial.
I think they're all... The fact that when we end up having to say this is the best video game movie so far...
As a qualifier.
It's still shit. Like it's bad, but it's like the best one so far. I feel like because of what video games are, and that you, the player, are the main character, even if you're playing Nathan Drake, where you're just playing the character Nathan Drake, or you're playing because your actions in the game influence that story, and because they're so big to the point where they're like novelization big, it's harder. You can take a book and figure out how you're going to tell that story. A game, the story changes based on like what your experience within that game is. It's super hard to get a coherent, good story out of a video game that most of the time they have to do something that is nothing like the game, which is not anything that the people want to see. And every time, without fail, it's either really, really hardcore for the gamers, in which case it makes no money and no one goes to see it, and we never get anything like it again. But no one ever goes that way. Or it's, let's make it so everyone can enjoy, which means it's going to be shit. And
can I ask what you thought of the Warcraft movie?
Stop. I believe I had two opinions. I said, as a Warcraft fan, really enjoyed it. As a person who knows what movies are, as a standalone movie, the first half of that movie is nonsense. Like, it is cut, fade, cut, introduction. Where if you're a normal moviegoer, I know why you would hate this movie. Like, I get why the reviews said what they did. As a fan, I was like, oh, I know what that is. And you don't even have to explain that shit to me. I get that. Like, I can understand that. And I imagine tomorrow, I believe, is Assassin's Creed. I imagine everyone's going to say the exact same thing about that. If you're an Assassin's Creed fan, you probably love the shit out of it. But as a movie, it's probably going to be garbage. Like, I don't even need to know the reviews are going to say it's garbage. I haven't seen one review for it. I guarantee they're like, oh, no, this is garbage.
Okay.
So,
Dodger, it seems like you've been one to interject on this one.
I just don't agree. I think that comic book movies used to also suck, and then after we made enough of them, they sort of figured out how to make them better.
I'll kind of side with you on that, but for a slightly different reason. I don't think the narrative argument really matters that much. Video games are very interactive narrative. I understand that, but to me, a movie is an ancillary piece of transmedia, something that it doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be as interactive. It's just it's a supplemental piece. Like, it's something that's like kind of cool. Hey, I like this game, so I'll kind of go and see that movie, or I'll kind of go and read this book. You know, very much like, video game novelizations and shit like that. Most of them kind of shit too.
Or
but they're
something
nice
that was very different, like Kingsglaive, where it was like, this is coming out before the game, and you can watch it if you want. And most of us that saw Kingsglaive were like, you should see Kingsglaive because it gives you a bit more information about like what happened in the city. And
here's the thing, I would rather have, with having played Final Fantasy 15, boy, would I have rather that been part of the game than. I think it's an awesome cutscene. but I wish it was part of the game. I really do, having now played the game. So I think, and again, I don't know that even I agree fully with my elf friend here who has this opinion, but I think that the video game movies in general are so flawed. And I would say the reason why comic book movies turned around, and you gotta look at this logically, Dukes. Marvel comic book movies turned around because they gave Marvel the reins of comic book movies. They said, you are the creators of this, create the franchise. Look at DC. DC doesn't control shit of that, and those movies are garbage. And so that is, and I feel like that's the inherent difference is the DC movies are still in that 90s, the way the X-Men movies were, where they were all over the place. They were hit and miss, and like now we got Wolverine where there's a Deadpool and he has no mouth, like that kind of shit. It's just one of those things, and that they have to fight so hard. There does need to be someone who fights really, really hard for a decent story. And I feel like what we got with the Avengers is they've earned this right, is that the Avengers and all the Marvel comics slowly worked up to the point where now we're okay with them not giving us all the story in a movie because we got
There's gonna be another one.
Yeah, we got that 5 movies back, and there's 5 more movies ahead of us, so we're good. We don't need everything. I think the biggest issue here is video game movies try their hardest to encompass the world, rather than if the Warcraft movie, for example, had been the story of either a party in the game or a single character, like someone not the main overarching story, that would have been something entirely different and probably would have got a different response. Because everyone tries to Avatar their movie, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like, man, we got to fit so much that happened in one season into this movie. You don't have to do that, video game creators. Give us a little taste of the world, and then get people to go.
You gotta be careful with that as well, because a lot of the shit video game movies did exactly what you just said, like Prince of Persia and fucking Hitman. Like they were only very loosely related, and they ended up just being arse in the process.
Well, I'm not saying loosely related. I'm saying give us a game that is in your world, that is super related to your world, but is a separate story.
Separate story entirely.
Entirely separate story. So it's like, give us the story of Borjak, the orc, and his best friend, John, the hunter. Like, that kind of shit where they're in
play by
the
the
world.
rules of the universe.
They go to the different places that take place in the world. They're involved in maybe a big event that happened, right? But they aren't, I'm King Lane, or they aren't the characters that, like, give us that movie. That shit would be dope. I would love, guys, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I would love a Diablo movie, a Diablo horror movie, like a dark gothic horror movie of just like, you don't even have to have main characters in that shit. It's a bunch of heroes that we don't need to know they're like they aren't main characters in the game because they don't exist, right? They're just characters on an adventure, and it's dark and creepy and nasty. Guillermo del Toro film that shit. It'll be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Could work.
Because you don't need that. Like the last, I can't even think of a movie.
If you include main characters, you've got to be, people have very specific ideas of what those main characters have to do, and what they do in video games is often not conducive to what they're doing on screen. There are issues with that. I feel like the Marvel Universe movies do actually work quite well in that there's a bunch of successful Marvel movies about Marvel characters that most people haven't even fucking heard of. Ant-Man did well. Doctor Strange did super well. Who the fuck had heard of Doctor Strange prior to that if you weren't into comic books already? Most people hadn't, but we knew. Yeah, I had neither. I'll freely admit that. I'm not into comic books. But the point is that we knew there would be a certain level of quality because it was an established universe that we knew would be good, and he's playing within the rules of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which means that everything, it not only has more importance than it otherwise would, but we have some familiarity with it, and there's a level of consistency there. There's rules they've got to play by. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that you're probably right in that respect. I don't think they should stop making them. I think they should do more what you said they would.
Don't listen to me. This guy's an asshole. This guy's a dick. I'm really just trying to talk about him.
I really like what you said about Diablo. Like, imagine a movie about just some of the villagers of Tristram.
Absolutely.
When Leoric goes crazy and starts killing people, and
yeah,
you just tell that story without being like, oh, hello, I'm a wizard, I'm going to go and see. If you just had a story in that universe that doesn't affect this main storyline, so no one goes into it with preconceptions, but you just get to experience like, oh, that's what Tristram was like, and that's what Leoric was like before he went mad, and that's what the Butcher was like, and like you're right.
Think about the ending of that movie. Look, we're just writing a movie for you right now, Blizz. The ending of that movie is them calling for help for the Warriors to show up in Diablo 1. Like, it's the prequel to Diablo 1, where it has nothing to do with like the warrior and the people who show up there. It's straight up just like the townspeople dealing with the fact that hell has broken loose in their cathedral.
Imps raiding them at night and losing cattle. And then the final scene would just be like an Amazon walks out of the shadows and then goes over to the well, stay a while and listen, whatever. And then you're like, oh my God. And that's where I'd start as a gamer. Like, like a little nod to the game. Yeah.
You use the universes and not necessarily the plots, I guess. That probably works. All right. That brings us to the end of show 1 of the Co-Opties Fake Award Show. We'll be doing another one of these next week. It's the 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern, as per usual. But before that, of course, we'd love you to go and watch our videos and such. Sacriel, where do people find you? Where do you go? What are you doing over the next week?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Sacriel. For the rest of the week, I will be torturing myself by playing DayZ with a mix-in of Battlefield 1. Actually, TB, I was going to say, like, I built a career off DayZ over the last 5 years. The first time I ever heard of it was your interview on YouTube with Dean Hall, where you played with him, played DayZ with him for an hour.
Oh, I didn't get very well, did it?
No, well, that's what I say. That was my first like exposure to it, and in a way, that changed my life and gave me a career. So, in a manner of speaking, I owe you a lot. So, thank you.
All right, I'll remember that.
Cool. Well,
cash it in at some point.
Sacriel, if you want to watch me play DayZ or Battlefield 1.
Go for it, Jesse. What you got?
I just love that. Really, if you connect the internet, I just want to point this out. Go back to 2012. At the very center is the Moriarty known as TB, where everyone's like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a career in X, Y, and Z. Really, the man straight up just manipulated the internet. And now everyone owes him everything. And one day he's going to call it all in. And we fucked. We all fucked. We all fucked.
I'm building some interest on this shit.
I'm back from London, so we'll actually get back to recording stuff and making videos and being silly. And yeah, good. I wish I could tell you what's coming out this week. Just a lot of stuff. More Scary Game Squad and more, hopefully, beating Final Fantasy 15 shit. So get ready for that.
Cool. Dodger, what you got?
I am not back. I'm about to leave. I'm leaving for England tomorrow. So I'll still be
this way.
Huh?
We can't be in that country at the same time. We planned it this way.
No, it's true. I am going to be still streaming a little bit while I'm gone. So tune into that if you would like. Maybe some stuff going up on Press Heart. Vlogmas is still happening every single day. So if you've been enjoying those, don't worry, they're not going to stop. And come hang out in my life. Social media next bonus. Winku.
Winku.
Most of us have been probably working on the Arbitrary Awards. That's still going on. I'm still doing recuts and making it shorter than it was, because fuck. But still a lot going on with that. We hope to have it ready before the end of the year. If we don't, it'll be shortly after that into 2017. Also working on my top 10 of 2016, which will no doubt cause the usual amount of arguing.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. I love thinking of ways to fuck with people and cause internet drama. It's great. Outside of that, I'll probably end up doing videos on Watch Dogs 2 and Space Hulk. I think you already know my Space Hulk video will not be too positive, although my Watch Dogs 2 video may very well be. So yeah, just trying to get all the end of the year stuff sorted out. And once that's done, we'll probably get back to streaming some StarCraft and also get the schedule for Shoutcraft Kings announced in 2017. So I think that's about it, folks. Thank you very much for watching the Corruptional Podcast. We'll be back next week with more fake-ass categories, more fake-ass awards, and all that kind of thing for your viewing pleasure. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.